the sovereignty, unity and territorial integrity. The leaders emphasized that any diplomatic engagement must adhere to these cardinal principles and that agreements or arrangements must have the explicit consent of the federal government of Somalia. The assembly also reaffirmed their commitment to promoting dialogue and negotiation for a comprehensive peace process in the Sudan conflict, and they urgently requested an immediate and unconditional ceasefire and cessation of hostilities. It was underscored that the Sudanese people should not bear the brunt of an unjust war. And parents with students at Isongo Secondary School are now threatening to march to the Ministry of Education offices in Kakamega and Nairobi to demand for the reinstatement of the withdrawn teachers. The parents criticized the TSC's action to transfer 17 teachers due to the dismissal of the principal, claiming that it is discriminatory because there are several schools where such cases have been witnessed and no action taken.
Kulingana na maandamano yenye ilikuwa yenye wazazi walitoa, hiyo wazazi walikuwa wamechoka kwa sababu matokeo tuni ilikuwa kwa shule. Hii shule Isongo sio ya kwanza kupitia hali kama hiyo, lakini kuna mashule watu waliandamana wakafanya uharibifu mkubwa. TSC haijawahi toa walimu. Sisi ni Wakenya walipa ushuru, hatutaki kupiga magoti kwa serikali. Umuhimu wa masomo kwa mtoto si kitu ya kuchezea. Please, Wizara ya Elimu warudishe walimu hapa, tuongee wakati tukiona wanafunzi wanaenda shule. Wasiporudisha walimu, sisi kama wazazi tutakuwa na maandamano ya kwenda kwa Wizara ya Elimu Kakamega, tutaenda Nairobi. Sisi hiyo mchezo hatutaki.
The management of Isongo Secondary School, led by Father Ferdinand Gonzo and the chairman of the board, Justice Wabuyabo, have requested that politics stay away from the matter so that a solution can be arrived at.
You are under the leadership of the BOM teachers, and we are seeking solutions to the problem that we have. At this point, we don't want to politicize anything. We want to seek solutions. Even as the sponsors, our concern is that TSC responds as quick as possible so that even if it is not returning the teachers here, we get teachers to facilitate the learning of the students.
Director of Education, Mumia Sub-County, Boniface Okoh, has said that talks are ongoing with TSC to find a permanent solution.
The interim solutions, I've said, it has to be sorted out through negotiations with the Teacher Service Commissioner. Board of Management wanajadiliana na tutapata suluhu on the way forward. What we'll have to do ndio tuone vile tunaweza pata walimu wale watafunza watoto wetu. Sasa kuna walimu wale mmeandikisha, lakini kwa kusema ukweli hawawezi fanya hiyo masomo yote. We accept that the learning is not going on as it was before.
This is Corporate Secretary General Akilo Misori in an interview with KTN News regretted the frog marching of teachers at the school, adding that no teacher will be comfortable to teach at the school moving forward.
The problem at that school will be more than what you are seeing now, and therefore I don't expect the standard of education to be improved, because no teacher will go to that school with the correct mindset to work in that school. You will be working there and looking at your back that when will the parents storm in. In the learning situation and the way the local leaders, the stakeholders and the parents handle that matter shows that there is a lot of misunderstanding between the school and the teachers in general.
Learning activities were paralyzed at St. Gabriel Isongo Secondary School after the Teacher Service Commission transferred all the teachers, including the principal, to nearby schools. Now, Basic Education PS Bailey Kipsang has said grade 8 CBC learners will have all their books in the next 30 days. Bailey said grade 8 learners have received most of their books and that it's only 2 books which haven't been delivered to schools. Bailey further said the ministry is already preparing books for grade 9 learners, which will be ready in the next 2 months. And a police officer died and 3 others injured when a bomb that had been tied on a donkey cart exploded in Mandera County. County Commissioner Amos Mariba says a donkey cart ferrying fuel that had a guide exploded when the IED went off. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
The The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be at the Situation Room.
Always a pleasure coming here. This is the most challenging interview panel in Kenya. You guys are very well informed, and as you can see, Charles today, very philosophical.
To be poor in this country is the greatest sin you can commit, not just from a legal perspective, but from life generally. It is very, very skewed.
We've just heard on the floor of Parliament, just most recently, a leader within the ODM saying that sisi ni ng'ombe za baba.
Yeah.
Which means that you are willing to be milked dry. Hapo.
You cannot force me to believe. I'll give way. If it's land that I'm told to return to you, I will. Okay? Because the court has said so. But I'll continue saying, watu wamenirusha. That's all that I'm doing.
The Situation.
It's critical that people pay taxes. But then taxation has to have a limit. When you start overtaxing people beyond certain limit, then this is now we call robbery with violence.
We are all struggling, but we don't show. If you're not doing well, shame on you. But you have to say, I'm broke and I'm struggling. We are not okay until everybody is okay.
We are pretending to have political parties. Why don't we just be honest? And we say, these are the Luyas, these are the Kambas, these are the Kikuyus, and we find ourselves in Kenya.
You know, with politics and leadership, no matter what you do, there will always be a complaint. There will always be the assumption that you're either stealing or you're not doing things right. As a leader, don't fear. If you know you're doing the right thing, you've thought about it, you've got an expert advice, do it, then understand later.
This country, we don't need prayers. Prayers is between you and God. Good governance and thinkers who care about the country and not their stomach.
That's what we need.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people. And we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship. And even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. And hii mambo utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
It's Friday. We've come to the end of the week, but it looks like traffic will probably do a thing today as we get into the morning. But for now, I think we can manage things without too much of an issue. There's a lot of movement on the Thika Superhighway, but we don't have a hold-up, so traffic hasn't started to do the thing there yet. Coming off Gong Road, coming off Langata Road, towards the southern bypass or in the opposite direction, then going to the city, you're absolutely fine. On Landis is where we're seeing some movement heading out towards Camp Kunji at the roundabout. Jogoo Road looks pretty good right now, and we're also looking at outer ring flowing free from the Embakasi junction out towards the Thika Superhighway junction. We're doing all right for a Friday morning. We're going to see what it looks like as we get into it. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X as we keep things moving this Friday.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Hiya, it's Friday. This is the what Friday of the month of the year? The third Friday, the 2nd. It can't be second.
No, City.
It cannot be second. It can't be.
No count.
It's the 19th.
This is the third Friday because the first Friday was the 5th.
Yep, it's the 3rd.
And then the 12th.
Yes.
And then today's the 19th.
Yes.
Third Friday.
What have I just said?
Oh, wow. That's the way it's done.
It's the second Friday since the first.
Yes. Well done. Well done, CT.
Hey. Wait. Yeah, this is January. There's still another Friday. And it will not be end month.
January ko Friday karibu 5.
And that other Friday will not be the end month.
No. Ujue.
Ukaa ukijua. Kai ukijua.
End month itakuwa ile ingine. So hii month iko na Friday 5. And counting.
There are like 17 Fridays in January. All of them with no money.
All of them with zero money.
No money. No money. City otherwise?
Otherwise niko tu at least bwana. Yes.
Ile jacket imeingia. Ona pesa bwana.
If you see that jacket on a Friday, tunakoma na City show ikiisha tu hivi.
Kuna mid-month bonus.
Si umesema twende. Be ready. You see that jacket on a Friday, just
Bas.
Paka
asubuhi.
Sikesho hakuna kazi. Bas, tunajua hiyo. Yes, it's good.
It's good, eh?
It's very good indeed.
Very good. Ndu?
Yeah.
Wewe yako iko sawa?
Mimi niko poa.
Uko poa? How's the girl coping? You wouldn't know, she's in boarding.
I beg, she should call me, Joe.
She should call you. Why?
What do you mean, why?
Yeah, why?
I want to know how she's doing. I want to be okay knowing that she's all right.
She's okay. That's why she hasn't called you.
No, I don't. I want her to call me.
If she's not okay, you'll get called. Yes. Otherwise, ako sawa. Okay? So. Very good. Hello, everybody.
How are you doing?
Maybe niko poa up here. Okay. Thank you for asking. I'm well.
I'm happy.
I appreciate. Today, being Friday, we will be discussing several matters. One of them being that Amenasir Abdullahi has been told by the Supreme Court, hapa
wewe
haukanyagi, tusikuone tena hapa. We refuse. We will not see you here again. So, iyo moja out. Now we'll be discussing that. Okay, so what does that mean?
Yeah, I'm waiting for the turnaround when they say, no, that's not what we meant. What we meant?
You think there'll be a turnaround?
There'll be a turnaround. Why do you misinterpret things? Surely, can't you take a joke?
And then he responded immediately, said, okay, so the most corrupt court has denied me. So since he's been saying that the courts are corrupt, is he going to seek redress in court?
In the court. Will he appeal?
I actually marvel.
And how much will he be offering the judges? In this appeal.
As he has declared they are corrupt.
Yeah.
So we assume when you go to seek service, you
talk it to.
You go with open hands.
Yes. So I'm a kangapi.
But these fellows who keep talking about corruption, afterwards, how can they know so much about these things?
At all.
No, they hear.
President, I can understand.
You know, walls have ears.
He gets intelligence.
Oh, walls have ears. So they said, "Oh, did you know that such and such happened?" That's okay, so.
I hear these things.
Walls have ears.
Yeah.
All right. And all houses have walls. Okay.
You hear these things.
Okay.
And even one day the wind gonna blow.
Nyash go open.
And the nyash go open. And if you just happen to be near the fowl,
where
you'll see that
nyash.
Oh, yeah. So
Waikwa Wanyoike is a constitutional lawyer. Will be speaking to us about this matter at 8 a.m. The Supreme Court and what it's done and the legality of this and what it means. You know, there are people who've now gone. We have moved. Kenyans were very good in tax last week. We were very good in last night. Law. Your right to fair trial, your individual right to...
It's unconstitutional. I don't know what. The rule of law must take... People were even using words they don't know how to spell. President. Somebody said, spelled president, as in William Ruto.
No, that's not the
law
president.
should take the president. I said, hey, okay, very good.
Which jurisdiction are they quoting? So Kenyan lawyers, all of us, will be speaking to Waikwa Wanyoike, who's one of us, at 8 a.m. on this particular matter. Okay? At 7 o'clock, we'll be joined by His Excellency Sultan Hajive. No, Sultan Hajiyev. Sultan Hajiyev is the ambassador, they're called what? Extraordinary and plenipotentiary.
Plenipotentiary is the
Yes. Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Azerbaijan to Kenya, and he's also the permanent representative of Azerbaijan to the UN office in Nairobi. He will be here to talk about 20 years of diplomatic relations between Kenya and Azerbaijan and why it took 19 years to set up a mission in Nairobi.
People are asking, where is Azerbaijan?
Where is Azerbaijan? Now he'll come and tell. Is Azerbaijan next to Afghanistan, or is it next to Pakistan, or Uzbekistan, or Turkmenistan, or which of those lands? Or Russia.
Is it in Asia or Europe?
It's in Eurasia.
All those things, right?
Yes.
He will come and tell us. Those who follow Formula One know. They don't know where it is, but they just know that it's a Baku race. Abas. 7 a.m., Ambassador joins us. At 9 o'clock, we'll have our Health Friday conversation. Dr. Lucas Nyabero is a pharmacist. He's a former CEO of the Pharmaceutical Society of Kenya. There's a new bill in Parliament. It's called the Kenya Drug Authority Bill. It's seeking to establish the Kenya Drugs Authority to replace the Pharmacy and Poisons Board. That will now be the regulator of the pharmaceutical industry in the Kenya proper big time. So he'll come and tell us why is this move. And apparently there's some issues here and there that pharmacists are not happy about. For example,
tell them to join the queue. There are very many Kenyans who are not happy about very many things.
Mambo ni mengi. Who's happy for what anyway? Right? Ednah wants us to do something.
Ednah is telling me
weka hiyo. Unaona Ednah anasema nini? Anasema nini? Cheza na Lesi Wanyika. You have not put the cable. Have you put it on?
Just put it.
It's muted there.
Where?
Is this volume up there? It is there. What happened?
We're supposed to be listening to a song.
Yeah, that one. It is there. Not that one.
What happened? We're supposed to be listening to a song. Yeah, that one. It is there.
Not that one.
What happened?
Hey, come on, Evo, watcha. Small thing to shout.
Small thing. Money don't lose, you they shout. You they shout for money where you no do work for.
What's this lovely called?
Tiwa Savage.
See, that song is very good.
It is.
It's actually even very nice.
It's very
you could
good
understand
and very
the
nice.
words.
Yes.
It's actually a political song. Yeah. Yeah, it's actually a political song. So sending a message to the politicians and the people who steal money from the country.
And then the politician, what does she say?
I don't come this life to suffer. If I marry a politician, they go say now prostitution. Who no like enjoyment? Who no like
enjoyment? Don't come to this life to suffer. I am not here to suffer. I am not here to suffer. If I marry a politician, well, I'm good.
They call them prostitution.
You're going to call me prostitution. Who doesn't like enjoyment? Hey, Koroba.
That is a very nice song.
It's very nice, huh?
Yes.
Tell us about weather.
Sawa.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with Spice FM.
It's 16 degrees and cloudy in Nairobi, highs of 23, and we'll see lows of 16. Cloudy at 16 in Nakuru, going to highs of 25, and 25 will be the high as well in a mostly cloudy. Nyeri at 14. It's 13 and cloudy in Eldoret with highs of 22, and looking into a cloudy Mombasa, highs of 33 and lows of 26. We'll see lows of 25. In Malindi, where it's partly cloudy, going to highs of 33. Kisumu is clear at 19 with highs of 27, while Kakamega at 16 is clear with highs of 27 as well. Kampala is clear this morning at 19 with highs of 29, while Dar es Salaam is mostly cloudy at 28 with highs of 32. And looking into a partly cloudy Johannesburg is 9 degrees with highs of 24. Mogadishu is partly sunny at 25 with highs of 33. While at 11, Addis Ababa is partly cloudy, going to highs of 24. It's hazy in Lagos at 25 and clear in Kinshasa at 24. -1 and cloudy Friday afternoon in Beijing with highs of 0 and lows of -6. While Paris is mostly cloudy with heavy snow with highs of 4 and lows of -4. -1 and partly cloudy in London with highs of 6. While at 0 Thursday night in New York, we'll see highs of 1 and lows of -2.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Number of people online this morning. Sir George Gashoridi says, happy Friday, folks. Don Sabo says, it's Friday, 11 days to February. Okay. It's chaos and bedlam for Grand Mula. Is it really? Joe Mungai says, hi, Inju, Eric, Muga, and Ednah. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Mercer Island is near Seattle, and that's where Joe is. Joelo Dondi is saying, he's in Kansas. It's great to join you this morning. It's been a cold week here, but you made it hot by your witty show. How about that? Alex Mnai says, great day ahead, peeps. David Adams says, good morning, Spice. Happy Friday. And H. Mwangi says, howdy, mates. Thanks for making my Arvos interesting.
Okay.
So, thinking he's speaking an ancient tongue.
Whatever he means, we appreciate.
Jacinta Wamboe says, Ekaro. Hey, you're speaking Yoruba. But your name
What does it mean?
Ekaro is good morning.
All right.
Ekusha sister, tuned in from San Francisco. I knew it had to be some tongue. H. Wangi says, this is Aussie speak. He says, if I'm making my Arvos interesting, have a fair dinkum day. Estefan Gikonya says, how they go? How you day? How's my pigeon? Well, it's trying, but it's not that. Yeah,
it's
right.
pigeoning.
It's pigeoning. Margaret Wanjohi says, good morning, friends. Tuning from Houston, Texas. And Robert Mbogo is tuning from Mombasa. Today I'm in voice saying good morning to the trio. And Ednah says, Jeffrey Mogaka. Patrick Waishigo says, good morning, Spice. To the judiciary, all cases in Kenya should have a reasonable timeline. 10 years. Why? And Gore is tuned in from Trans Nzoia. Good morning to you. London, Ontario, -25 cold. I saw another guy pouring boiling water out of a kettle in mid-air. The thing froze.
What?
That's right.
As in the water can't even reach the ground.
What?
Comes out of the kettle, whoop, and that person is not frozen themselves.
He's insulated. And immediately he finished, ran back inside the house. I said schools are closed.
Why do you live in such a place? Why?
Why do you punish yourself?
This whole wide world.
And the places that you can go. But
like Kipia here, we can accommodate all of you.
Big ranches, Buana.
Yeah.
So now the computer has decided it's freezing.
It has decided like that?
No, don't worry. We still go on. Ronald, woo-wee. Okay. Everybody has. There we go. Let's start from bottom and go up. Sam Karanja says, good morning, tuned in from Gwango in Banana. And Nyaoke says good morning. Bossman is tuned in this morning. Everybody's talking about the Grand Mullah this morning. Georgia Koth says good morning. Eric Ndu, CT, Ednah, and don't forget Yego. Okay, we will not ever forget Yego.
Okay.
Watching in from Miami in Florida. Linus Rainman says Guten Morgen. Munchen is locked this morning. Wiki Aaron says good morning team. I like your intelligence and organization in discussions. Keep it up. Santisana for joining us every morning. Dr. Venvik is tuning from Tudor. And Kenneth Bushnell says good morning as well. Everybody tuned in this morning, Karibuni, and thanks for joining us.
Yes, indeed. City.
Yeah, we can recommend all of you.
Nini mbaya? Iko shida.
Computer has decided it's on the weekend.
Zimeanza kusalimia wenzake.
Yeah. Do like that, City?
That is precisely what I am going to do.
Like that?
Yes, okay. Exactly. The president of the Republic, the Federal Presidential Constitutional Republic.
Thank you, please.
Of Nigeria.
I'm sorry. I don't know what's happening.
Mute the thing.
Done the thing.
The YouTube itself there. Not there. The YouTube as well. That one. There. On the YouTube itself.
Done.
On that one. On there. On that there. Like
Done.
that there. Like that. Alafu sikia the president of the Presidential Constitutional
Republic.
Federal
Presidential Constitutional Republic
of Nigeria
is called Bola Tinubu.
Olubolaji. Sorry.
The whole name is
Olubolaji.
And the other name Tinubu is Tinubulo?
No, Tinubu is Tinubu.
It ends there. Okay.
They have a vice president, Vice presidents are never known. So we must tell you.
Okay.
It's called Kashim Shettima. Now,
it's not Kasim.
I was going to just
and it's
tell
not
you.
Shettima?
No. I was actually going there, Eric. It is not Kasim. It is Kashim.
And it's not steamer.
It's not steamer.
Shettima.
It is Shettima.
Yes.
Kashim Shettima.
Yes. Then there's the Senate president.
Does he know that his name is Kashim?
He's from the north.
Okay.
He knows.
I think he woke
Don't
up.
mind him. He knows what he's doing.
He's from the north. The Senate has a president. It's called Godswill. Now, I am not mispronouncing it. His name is Godswill. Okay?
God's will.
Is it God's will or God's swill?
It's God's will.
God's will.
Yeah.
Like good luck.
Yes.
Okay.
Like well done.
God's will.
Akpablo.
Okay.
That's his name. Then there's a House Speaker, Tajuddin Abbas.
Okay.
Then there's Chief Justice. Okay. Olukayode. Arilola. Yes. The two also. Okay.
Alikayode Ali. Olukayode.
Arilula. Yes.
Arilula. Okay. So I can see like a balance of north-south. Christian, Muslim, Christian.
Very important here. Here. All right.
And then there's a third house. So you said there are three. It's a tricameral.
I did.
Who's the head of the other one? What's the other one called?
There's Legislative
a Senate
Assembly, Upper House Senate, then Lower House, House of Representatives.
Okay.
Yes.
So there's a house.
like your
There's a
MCAs,
National
yeah.
Assembly, and then there's a House of Representatives. It's like MCAs.
Yes.
But MCAs are in per county.
Yes. But now, your House of Representatives, every state
Send someone.
has a representative.
And MPs come from which? Every what?
We don't have members of parliament.
But you have a National Assembly.
They do. It's called a National Assembly.
Where do they come from?
States, local governments.
Eric, you're thinking like a Kenyan. Let's just understand the system is not like ours.
So you have
So
a
I want to
state.
understand it.
You have a
thank you.
state.
So let's
You
start
need
at the
states.
Senate. Who goes to
we
the
have
Senate?
a county,
Yes.
and then within counties you have
Assemblies.
Assemblies. You have wards.
Yes.
You have constituencies.
Yes.
So within states, you have local government areas.
Okay.
Which would be likened to your constituencies.
Okay.
Right, and then you go down to
To the
another
ward.
level, which would be your ward level.
Okay.
Those are represented by your House of Representatives. Okay. Then each local government has a senator.
Okay.
Okay. And then each state has a governor. So those are the levels, and they're all represented at the national.
Okay. So who who goes to the Senate?
Senator.
Okay, so the senator is from a state. So senator is one senator per state.
One senator per local government area.
Local government area, which is like a constituency.
Within a state.
Okay.
Yes.
And then who goes to the National Assembly?
National Assembly is your... So you have a House of Representatives, you have the Senate, and then you have your local government representatives.
Yeah.
Right? So House of Assembly, those are the representatives at the local government area who share position with the senators.
Okay.
So that's how you have your members of parliament here and your senators. Your senators do oversight, members of parliament do legislation. Now you have your representatives at the local government area in the House of Assembly and those who are at the House of Senate.
Okay.
Do you have the equivalent of a county assembly?
Those are your...
to the lower house.
The lower house.
So there are many lower houses per Senate.
Yes.
But each Senate has a lower house.
Yes, because...
So it's not one lower house.
It's one lower house made up of several.
Oh, all those MCAs come into one.
One house.
And do they send one representative to this house?
Each local government area sends a representative to the house.
Yeah. That representation is a bit complete, isn't it?
But it's huge.
Yeah.
No matter how tall okra grow, you no go tall past owner.
No matter how tall okra grow, you no go
grow past the owner.
You no grow past the owner. Say it now.
No matter how tall okra grow, you no go grow tall past the owner.
Okay.
Okra.
Okra is that same okra?
Okra.
It's not called okra. No matter how tall okra grow, you no go grow past the owner.
No go grow past the owner.
So let's do traffic, and then we look at the headlines.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Not too busy this morning. Coming off of Jogo Road, heading towards Landis. There's where you have bumper-to-bumper action towards the Kamkunji roundabout. Into the CBD, coming in from the Thika Superhighway. There's also some hold-up here just at Pangani at the underpass. But it's Friday, folks. I've not gotten out and at it just yet. Limuru Road is also starting to build up. We'll probably see some movement as we get into the city this morning. We're also looking at some movement heading in from Gong Road. But again, this is not going to be too painful at this point. So we're starting it off. We'll keep an eye on things and see how we get into Friday. Let's talk on SpiceFM, KE on X.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, attack. There's an attack apparently on teachers. Questions as TSC withdraws 17 school teachers. A swift action by the teacher's employer ostensibly to signal its zero tolerance for violence by moving 17 tutors from a Kakamega school where parents attacked teachers over poor KCSE results had inadvertently created a new kind of suffering for students caught up in the crossfire. Why Rigade beat an about turn on going after judge? All right.
Was he going after the judge at all?
That's the question.
Thursday, siku ya Alhamisi, 2:15. Go on.
Homicide detectives roped in probe of Nakuru doctor's death. Ruto seeks to repair relations with neighbors. I mean, you just can't be fighting with everybody, Bwana. From Uganda to Tanzania to everybody. So he's, trying to mend things. Or so we are told. On the front page of The Nation, IMF's bitter pill for taxpayers. No respite. Kenyans are set for another season of more tax pain as the government starts implementing International Monetary Fund-backed revenue measures that are expected to yield an additional 806 billion shillings over the next 3 years. This comes at a time of elevated inflation and subdued economic activity, which has made it hard for the Kenya Kwanza administration to bring in new taxes and levies without opposition. There's outrage as the Supreme Court blacklists top lawyer over attacks. The Apex Court announces an indefinite ban on senior counsel Ahmed Nasir and his law firm or any person acting on his instructions from appearing before it. Ololo. Yeah. The Court of Appeal is busy. They're to roll out, or rather rule on the rollout of new health plan today. We're going to get that verdict at some point. Counties are going to have to wait a little bit longer. 272 billion shillings is what they're waiting for. PS in the Treasury says it's going to take some time. On the back page of The Nation, that's the story that's there. The PS, Teresia Mbaika, saying, you know what? These resources to get them together is going to take a minute. So, sit tight.
Surely. Business Daily, I tell you. Way. Oh, have you said about the Court of Appeal and the health plan today?
Yes, please.
Hiya. The Business Daily, Treasury admits deal with Gulf oil firms has flopped.
Yeah.
Concerns over forex market distortions, December exit plan revealed. The oil supply deal signed with 3 state-owned Gulf companies last year to tackle challenges related to the scarcity of dollars has failed to ease the foreign exchange pressures on the country as expected, the Treasury has admitted. In disclosures to the International Monetary Fund, the Treasury said the government intends to exit this arrangement under which the country imports oil over a credit period in December, citing the distortions it has created in the forex market. So you still want to stay another 11 months in it if it's creating distortion? Billionaire Balubai takes 1.29% stake in Coop Bank. We have talked about this billionaire several times before, just making big moves. This man is over 80 years old.
However.
Just remember. However, billionaire investor Balubai Patel has taken a 1.29% stake in Coop Bank after buying an additional 20 million shares valued at 232 million shillings at Wednesday's market close. The businessman, whose interests span real estate and listed equities, has been accumulating shares of Coop Bank over the years amid the bear run in the markets. 4.4 billion shillings released for student loans and scholarships. Regulator warns Airtel and Telcom over poor quality services. They've told them, your non-compliance with the quality service standards offered to consumers on the mobile telephone networks, italete shida. Manufacturers raise prices by 9% amid rising costs. Haya, sasa, Siti,
yes, please.
Wewe tuambie mambo ya hiyo ingine.
Hii mambo ya the Star, top right hand corner in burnt brown. Siasa. Time to urgently act on femicide cases in Kenya. And the Siasa pull out Ruto versus Koome. Then Charlene Ruto appointed Blood. It's good to read this thing.
Not brand.
Not brand. And me, I was about to say bloody. Then I realized, no, it is Blood Envoy. Right? Good for you. Good for you, sister. Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Nahumicho has appointed Charlene Ruto, Kenya Blood Ambassador. Good.
So now she's Blood Ambassador within the country or abroad, or
I think she's just among.
Sawa.
Okay. Offensive attack. Supreme Court bans lawyer Ahmed Nasir. I'm going to see how this one pans out. And by the way, if I may just comment, this appointment, good.
Which one? Charlene Ruto's.
It is a good one.
Okay. Why?
Some of these things, you require a high-profile name or an individual
to focus attention on it.
Yes, because that person already pulls attention. So the matter that they stand for will also gain the attention that person brings along with it.
Makes sense.
It is important.
Makes sense. Maybe you can start the story then. Just tell us what is her role going to be.
Charlene is a daughter of President William Ruto, this president who's president of Kenya.
That's role number one.
Okay. Now Misha is not a daughter of the president. Okay. Now Misha, in a letter dated December 14th, 2023, acknowledged Charlene's contribution in blood donation. Okay. The MOH recognizes and appreciates your selfless contribution to Kenya through your consistent blood donation advocacy, educating, mobilizing your family members, community peers, and the general Kenyan citizens to engage in blood donations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes.
That's what she's been doing.
That's what she's been doing.
Basically, I agree with you, City. I think when you get somebody who has such public attention,
yes,
to now publicly and openly talk about the need for mobilizing blood donations and then for funding the blood transfusion services and creating blood banks and making sure that they work, it's a good thing.
It is.
And then if there are issues, family dinner.
You can bring it to the dinner table for discussion.
I mean, this is a trend that has been there throughout the world for the longest time.
Yeah.
We see it perhaps more clearly in countries that have had monarchies.
Yes.
There's Prince who and so and Prince this and this. And there's always something that they're doing, and it's for the public.
That's true.
And even if you look at countries where they're, let's start with the presidential countries that have a presidential system. Just for starters, you'll find that the First Lady has very specific roles, and it's philanthropic in nature. So this is a good thing. But significantly, this is a younger Kenyan.
Yeah.
Now, we are a young country, meaning there are more young people than the ancient creatures like myself. Okay? So what that means, therefore, is that this is someone who can actually mobilize this population to donate this blood, which they have in plenty, because first of all, there are many. And the dwindling services, as we have seen it, can actually rise from the dead, because it has been near dead for the very longest of time.
True.
Good. Then, bang in the middle of the paper, audit. Kikuyu and Kalenjin are grossly overrepresented. Where? Expose the big ethnic disparity in government jobs. Unfortunately, the data they are using is a population census of 2019. Okay. And they mentioned Kikuyu, Kalenjin, Luo, Luhya, Kenyan Somali, Mijikenda, Meru, Turkana, Teso, Taita. That is top 10. Then bottom 10, Kenyan American, Dahalo. This community, I've never even heard of them. Have you heard of a community called Dasenach? I haven't.
Okoh.
Okay. Walwana, Wayu, Sakuye, Orma, Nubi, Kosno.
Kosno, how many?
Kosno, a population, they're 1,299.
Many of the people are actually somewhere in the cradle of mankind, Marsabit in the north. Like the Dasenach.
Precisely, because
Sakuye.
In this whole public sector, public service, where other people have 52,000, others 40, God knows what, 1,000, then we have 2.
Dasenach.
No, Kosno.
Kosno.
2.
In the national government.
2. Public service, yani, just look at it's an entirety. 2. Okay? Nubi, at least this one's a fair number, 92. But if you want to know the really serious ones, Dahalo, 0.
What?
Nada. Kenyan American, 0. But, consolation prize, Wayu, 3.
Who are the Wayu?
I have no idea who these people are. But now I've been challenged to find out who my fellow Kenyans are.
Me too.
Okay. But this is not a new story. It keeps coming up. It keeps, and perhaps, should we say a balanced and an honest discussion about it must be held, because these things don't just happen willy-nilly. A lot of these numbers have to do with the population that are represented by these communities. Again, it's represented historically by where these people were at independence, where they were in terms of the numbers of their people who were educated. There are very many things that count for this. So an honest discussion about this needs to be had. Because when it's presented this way, then what is being implied is that there are some communities here who are taking advantage of others.
Yeah.
They are the only ones who are employing each other.
They recognize themselves and are recognized by others.
And then you throw in there the communities who have had the most presidents in the country. You know that's done.
That story is dead.
Yeah, so a discussion that goes beyond that rhetoric.
And that is the job of NCIC.
Yes.
The National Cohesion and Integration Commission. It's the one that prepares these reports, and it should be actually holding these conversations to look at why. Go beyond this and tell us why. Of this, where do they work? These communities, what kind of skills and expertise do they have?
What do they represent?
How many have gone to school? How many schools do we even have?
All those things
in these areas. You know, so I can say that this population is accessing school, and because it's accessing school, then it can access the opportunities.
Precisely.
Haya, hiyo ni kubwa. Tuambie, utatuambia gani?
Long wait for schools and students for verdict on KCPE and KCSE complaints. Candidates who contested their 2023 KCPE and KCSE exams results will wait longer for the verdict, which may potentially impact their university education as well as their Form 1 education. It's now emerging the National Examinations Appeal Tribunal, tasked with the responsibility to review the grievances, operates at a glacial pace, requiring up to 60 days to handle complaints lodged by schools and candidates arising from KCSE results. The tribunal will only take up the cases after the Kenya National Examination Council has delivered its findings and communicated the final result after another 60 days. You get it so far? So they wait for everybody to come and talk to them, and they're giving them 60 days to do that. After they hear the submissions, they will now take another 60 days. This means that the time required to process all complaints arising from KCSE exams will be 120 days from the day the complaint was lodged. That's 3 months, 4 months. It also means last year's KCSE candidates who had contested the results released by NEC and have lodged formal complaints could know the verdict on the 8th of May. This could potentially see the candidates affected during selection and placement on to university by the Kenya Universities and Colleges Central Placement Services, KUSPS. For those challenging their KCPE results, the tribunal has a window of 30 days to issue the verdict. This could further mean the tribunal's decision will not help the students in placement into a secondary school of their choice, even if the results are reviewed and upward. It could also delay some KCSE candidates in selection and placement to university. So the thrust of this story is that, okay, so you have an issue, you bring it to the tribunal. Tribunal could take a long time to figure this out. So essentially, you're better off doing what?
But the tribunal will take 30 days.
For KCPE. 30
days. Why?
So that's how they've set it now.
Why?
Why not 10?
Yeah. Why 30? I mean, what's the rationale?
It sounds complete.
Because you're not telling this kid to resit an exam. You're not setting a new exam. I mean, what are you taking 30 days to do?
You want to hear and see, collect.
What are you hearing? I mean, it's not like you're bringing in witnesses into this. It's not like that your child come with your parent. Now let's first establish that you are the child, that you're the one who started this KCPE, that when it left, what are they taking 30 days
After all, the Examinations Council has the results of the exam.
It has all the data.
It has all the information. Hand it over, see. You could ask the same question. Why should the tribunal take 60 days to allow the council review the results, which they already have?
Yeah.
And then you want to take another 60 days for you to review that data, which the council has brought to you after 60 days. What are you telling people essentially?
That these cases of yours at all.
That you're basically telling people that these cases of yours are not going anywhere.
It doesn't make sense at all. It doesn't make sense at all, unless they've put it like that so they discourage people.
That's what I'm saying.
From applying to the tribunal.
Exactly. Once you see the time that it takes to do all that, you can imagine. Do you want your child to go to school, or do you want to be doing musical chairs with these guys?
That's cray. Now, IMF is giving us money.
Yeah.
Pesa. They have decided, you know what, you guys are cash strapped.
You guys are having problems.
Hamwezi lipa nini? I'm going to give you 110 billion shillings, in that long-term strategy that we've talked about. Wait, I want to read this story in two parts. Anyway, let's start with this one. So, the Kenyans are going to face more tax pain as the government starts implementing the IMF-backed revenue growth measures that are expected to raise an additional 806 billion shillings over the next 3 years. The IMF said in a new assessment report on Kenya that the government will include in the 2024 finance bill all the tax measures proposed under the first year of its recently published medium-term revenue strategy covering 24-25, 26-27. The demand by IMF that the government immediately implements new tax measures comes at a time of sharp pain. The MTRS envisages a gradual increase of Kenya's tax-to-GDP ratio by 5% by 2027, effectively translating an additional 806 billion shillings over the 3 years. In the first year of its implementation, it calls for a raft of changes, including a motor vehicle circulation tax. Motor vehicle circulation tax.
What does that mean?
Gari yako kuna damu ina circulate tax. I don't know.
What is that?
Motor vehicle circulation tax, reintroducing minimum tax, withholding taxes on all imports and payment for supplies to public entities, and review of excise on alcohol and tobacco products. Also, there is expansion of the digital services tax to include local entities, a potential upward revision of rental income tax to match the corporate tax rate, and introduction of VAT on non-core education services, excluding early childhood and basic education.
Is there anything they've left out?
Yeah?
See, they just tell us. Hii ndio tutakupea. Don't ask. These are the things. For goodness sake.
Let your salary, let your income go to KRA. Let KRA give you a stipend.
The remaining one. Because there's no need. Let them give you the one that they say you
like a handout
live
like this.
On this one.
A monthly allowance.
Surely.
Now,
what is equal to corporate tax? What? I mean,
if at any point in time in the course of the month you are distressed, just come.
We can have a discussion,
and we can see what else we can do.
And you tell us why you're distressed, and we give you money.
For goodness sake, digital tax, withholding what? Import on all
circulation tax.
Vehicle circulation
Don't
tax.
play with this country. We are going to be. You'll even find a time going to come when they're taxing you on the tax.
Clean air tax.
Oh yes,
it's coming. In fact, let me keep quiet because it might give them an idea.
Already there's that farm tax. Remember the farm produce tax? Huh? Yeah.
Come on. Hey, Chukunna.
Personally, I like what I'm seeing.
Why?
Well, anything that opens our mind to discussions that we didn't think we could possibly have is a good thing. But it also perhaps points us to the depth of our problems. Because all these taxes and the number of taxes we keep increasing, and then at the same time saying we're not increasing taxes, and then we're increasing taxes. Surely, are we close to solving the problem that these taxes are supposed to solve? Or are they supposed to increase for the next 3 years before we can see what they're going to do? And also, as they keep collecting, I would like to see whether the taxman is actually realizing the monies that they anticipate that they will raise.
Are they hitting the target?
Yes, it is important because you see, KRA are informed that they should collect taxes. It's not them. They don't wake up in the morning and say, today we are going to tax you.
That's why they're there.
No, them they collect.
They just collect. Let me tell you, the latest revenue performance data from the National Treasury shows that in the 5 months to November 2023, tax revenue stood at 847.3 billion shillings, which was 164 billion shillings below the prorated target of 1 trillion by that time. Okay. The underperformance was due to... let me continue. In a letter to the IMF ahead of the program review, ahead of this meeting, Jogona and Dogo had to go with, by the way, this is how we are performing, and explain with aid of clearly labeled diagrams why you're performing that way. So he took a diagram, Jogona Dongo, to the IMF, attributing the underperformance to lower than anticipated income taxes and excise on account of weaker activity in key sectors such as banking, construction, and ICT. The underperformance continued under execution of transfers to counties and public sector institutions, which affects payment of pay as you earn from public sector employees, as well as for projects which affects VAT collection. According to the CS, because they didn't have money to send to counties, so now counties were not able to remit pay. Unaona sasa hiyo shida.
I think the good professor has been very honest about it.
We didn't send them money, so we then could not collect.
Yeah, but it's true. Money circulation, you can't circulate if you don't exist. The money has to be there for it to circulate. If it's in short supply, circulation will also be short.
Anyway, hiyo mambo yote itakuja, all right? And the IMF has approved 110 billion shillings disbursement to Kenya yesterday, set to lessen concerns over Kenya's ability to meet its obligations for its first Eurobond that matures in how many days? 5 months, minus 10, 11 days. Yeah.
But sir, so essentially what's happening here is that
Yes, madam.
they're giving you money to pay your loan.
Yes.
A loan to pay another
Yes,
loan.
yes.
Okay.
Yes. What they're trying to do is giving you some cash so that you can pay this one now is at concessionary rates. Yeah, it's not at market rate. The funds which are expected to hit the Central Bank of Kenya shortly. And please, when they hit that Central Bank of Kenya, can the control of budget be there with a lock and key?
I say, lock it.
Isitoke mahali.
Because hata usiweke password.
Because this is part of the 152 billion shillings from the augmentation expansion of resources under the fund's multi-year arrangement with Kenya. Kenya pushed for additional resources from IMF last year, citing heightened balance of payment needs from the upcoming outsized maturity amid difficulties in accessing alternative funding from the international markets. I'm telling you, yani ile shida tuko nayo inchi. 10 years of Jubilee.
Brought us here actually.
Left us in jubilation.
Yes, no. In minimized. In fact, it actually obliterated jubilation. But you know, when you talk about borrowing, you talk about countries that borrow. We had the Japanese the Japanese ambassador to Kenya here the other day, and he was telling us how Japan also borrowed from IMF to reconstruct after the Second World War
over many years,
and they pay. You see, they paid. Now they lend.
But you can actually see the reconstruction that took place in Japan from
you can because
every shilling went where it's supposed to go.
Okay, it went where it was supposed to go. And if you look at the ethos of the Japanese, the love they have for their country and the determination that they have to build their country, we don't love our countries that much.
Maybe really. It's because of what they went through.
Yes.
That thing brought them together and they were like, all right, so this is who we are and we've got to stand for one another, for country.
They do.
That war made them decide, okay, we are, and every year an earthquake here and there reminds them that you need to be together.
Yep.
You know? Sheesh. Tell us the story of TSC, please, in a minute. Because this is a big one.
It is.
Yeah.
Now, it's on page 5. Whoa, I found it and then it went. Okay, now. Questions have emerged over a decision by TSC to withdraw all teachers from a school when the principal was ejected over poor performance in the 2023 KCSE exams. The commission yesterday moved all the 17 teachers from St. Gabriel Isongo School in Kakamega County a day after 2 teachers' unions demanded so. The decision plunged the school into uncertainty with hundreds of students caught in the conflict. So now when you move 17 teachers, what does that mean? Students are there. Are they being taught? No.
So have you closed the school or what?
The students are still there, but you've moved the teachers. Okay. Kakamega County Education Director Helen Nyang'ao confirmed that the TSC had transferred them to neighboring schools out of Kakamega. All TSC teachers have indeed been transferred, so now some are still there. They're just not TSC ones. And they've been taken to neighboring schools while others have been moved out. The issue to do with the replacement of teachers and how long it will take lies fully with TSC, so we don't even know when we'll bring others
decide.
There.
Ngoja tutaona.
Tutawaambia, but for now, we're not talking about that. Learning was paralyzed, learners whiling away their time outside just chilling without supervision as the school was left under the board of management. What happens next is the question. Yeah.
That's crazy though.
Parents said you performed badly. Our highest grade was a C something. Oh yeah, get out. TSC said, bring our teachers. We'll know how to deal with you guys.
Is the TSA saying no, our teachers did not perform badly, it is your stupid children? Or what are they saying?
No management that didn't organize themselves properly. Give us our teachers, Joe.
And
while you're at it, we will tell you when we'll give you others. But for now, you cannot be misbehaving.
News time, 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswam Dennis Aseto. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua says that he won't proceed with the matter of the petition against the alleged corrupt judicial officers. Gachagua, who had promised to present its petition, said he has resolved to stop the process in order to allow President William Ruto and Chief Justice Martha Koome hold dialogue on the critical issue of accountability of the judiciary. And Orange Democratic Movement Party received a boost after Senate Speaker Amason Kingi's Power Party members defected to the Raila Odinga-led outfit. The latest movement in the political circles is likely to drastically change the politics of Kilifi and the coastal region. Opposition leader Raila Odinga welcomed the defectors, saying they'd made the right move.
Mimi na furaha sana kwa mmekuja na hata kifunguo mmeleta. Ni kama ile nyumba mmefunga kabisa. Bwana Kingi tulikuwa naye pamoja katika hii azimio. Alipounda PAA akaja akaongea na sisi akasema sasa nataka PAA ingie katika muungano wa azimio. Tukakubaliana na yeye. Tulikuwa tunazungumza na yeye na Bwana Joho. Tumeketi naye kwa nyumba ya Bwana Joho hapa kwa karibu masaa 5.
Kongole ya hali ya juu sana kwa sababu mmegonga ndipo.
Kwa maisha yangu mafupi ya kisiasa, tendo ambalo limefanyika hapa mimi sijaona siku nyingine, kwamba mmehama na kuhama na vyombo vyote. Na saa Nyundo alivyozungumza, Nyundo ndio hujenga PAA na tena hiyo Nyundo ndio huondoa hiyo PAA.
And controversial preacher Paul Mackenzie, 94, accused, denied 4 terrorism-related charges in the Shakahola case. Senior Principal Magistrate Joe Omido referred the bond application matter from Shanzu Court to another court.
Concerning 65 of the accused persons who are before me, which related to issues to do with the pretrial detention and therefore issues to do with bonds, it is my view that this matter should now be handled by a different court, and this file will therefore be allocated to Honorable Juma, Principal Magistrate Court number 3.
This is the Malindi High Court had ordered Mackenzie and 31 other suspects to undergo a mental assessment test before the hearings for the murder case against them begin. Mackenzie and his co-accused will be charged with murder after the DPP Renson Igonga said they've gathered enough evidence to link them to the murder of 429 people of the Shakahola forest. Now, government spokesperson Isaac Moura has clarified on matters privatization, saying it has to do with investments rather than selling. Moura further said that the government wasn't interested in selling KICC but rather reviving it so that it can make money and create job opportunities.
This facility is actually iconic. All of us associate Nairobi with the tower that we are just in right now. So Kenya is not selling KICC. It's just to maximize the potential, the value, putting about 2 billion or so right now, and it's an ongoing process, an 11-year program that has been going on, so that then we can not just use this place for offices, we use it for investment and getting money for hotels. There is even a plan to have a new hotel within these same premises, so that then you are able to look at how many people come here, you revive Intercon, you revive Hilton, so that people can make money, because when those hotels are closed, a business means that then people are jobless. So kindly understand that it is not selling. Privatization is about getting a strategic investor who comes in, does what they need to do, makes money for himself and also for the country, and then they are able to move on.
Moore also said that the government was taking up loans, but although it made sure that they were long-term and low-interest loans.
We are trying to retire short-term, high-interest loans to go for long-term, low-interest loans. Why? It is because when you call Kenya a low-middle-income country, like it happened in 2014, our economy was rebased by 25%. Before we were under least developed countries, LDC. Now we are under lower middle income country. That means we can get commercial loans. And that is what the country went after that time, like the Eurobond. 10-year, very high interest. Now we are supposed to pay the whole of it by June this year. But then we have now agreed with the Bretton Woods institutions, that is the IMF and World Bank. They give us long-term loans so that we have more fiscal space to ensure that we have more breathing space.
US President Joe Biden has said that attacks on the Houthis will continue, even as he acknowledged that the group have not stopped their Red Sea attacks. The US carried out a 5th round of strikes on Yemen Thursday after a US ship was struck by a Houthi drone. White House spokesperson John Kirby told reporters that US forces took out a range of Houthi missiles that were about to be fired towards the Red Sea. He said the American attacks took place Wednesday and again on Thursday. Wednesday, a Houthi drone hit a US-owned and operated bark carrier ship. It came as the US designated Houthis as a terrorist organization. This is News. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
Spice FM, Nakuru.
On Limuru Road, getting into the city this morning, we're looking at a bit of a hold-up, then coming and touching on the CBD. Also then coming and going towards Westlands, Chiromo. Westlands, Ring Road Westlands is also pretty busy right about now. That's some hold-up of traffic. Uhuru Highway is busy, will be for some time. And then the Thika Superhighway, quite a lot of traffic heading out towards Utali and then to the Pangani area. We're coming off of Kiambu Road as well. We are already seeing bumper-to-bumper traffic as you get towards Muthaiga Square. Jogo Road not looking too bad. And on Mombasa Road heading out to the city, I think we'll be fine as well. For now, we're seeing a lot of movement now on North Airport Road heading out towards that Embakasi Junction. So all things to watch. If you've left now, that's not too bad. And if you haven't, you might want to think about waiting it out a bit as traffic starts to climb. Let's talk on SpiceFM. KE on X as we keep things moving this Friday.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your
7
day.
minutes after 7. How are you doing? Welcome to the second hour of The Situation Room. Happy Friday. It's the third Friday of January 2000. No, it's the third Friday of 2024. That's better, right? And there's still like 7 more Fridays to go before we come to February. But keep hanging in there. It's okay. It's going to happen. School heads are demanding funds in full. Barely a week after 1.4 million 2023 KCPE candidates reported to secondary school principals want all money to go to them. Now, do you have money?
Some want fees in full.
Okay.
And
they're also telling the government, can you send all the money in full?
Yeah, capitation now.
Yeah. Tumesikia World Bank inatoa pesa. Can you send that money here to school? Now we have to go to the market because it's the only way. Yeah. As usual.
Thank you very much.
This is one for you.
These are 2 for me.
Yeah, one for you. The other one is for our guests.
Okay.
I'm sure he has seen kiwi.
You must have seen kiwi somewhere. It's shoe polish. I'm
actually one of the users.
Very good.
Now,
client. Everybody around the world has used kiwi and we know what that's for. Obviously, you need to look spick and span and step up and shine. And now all these school fees woes, kiwi is saying, you know what, let's see how we can make this just a little bit easier to get through this life. Go to a supermarket, a shop, wherever you will find this kiwi with the new logo. Pick up a tin of it. And under the lid is a code. We're going to dial *459 *5#, input the code, you win data or airtime instantly. The beautiful thing about this is that you also then get a chance to enter into a draw. What does this draw do? The draw is allowing 4 people, we turn the thing, and every week 4 people are winning 35,000 shillings. Maybe an even more beautiful thing, that this 35,000 shillings goes directly to school fees. So you buy shoe polish to shine your shoes and look immaculate, and then you can win school fees to go to school. It's fantastic.
Nice.
Step up and shine with
This
you.
is where school shopping earns you school fees. Very, very good. Before we welcome our guests, let's also remind you about Maramoja Taxi. Maramoja Taxi is a Kenyan taxi app, all right? And beautiful. It's available. These taxis are available in Nairobi, in Mombasa, in Nakuru, in Naivasha, Kisumu, and Eldoret. Very many taxis, thousands of them. If you just use Maramoja, you hail a taxi will come to you wherever you are. And the beautiful thing about it is you can actually choose the driver that you want to be using. That is, you can tap, you can pair with the driver that you want and go. when you hail a taxi, as City has been reminding us, you will see options of the vehicles near you and photos of the drivers plus their vehicle. And then you decide, I want to use so-and-so, okay? Because they're close to me, because whatever. Then if you like them, you can decide to be using them any other time that you want to use them. You don't actually, next time you go, you look for driver so-and-so, you tap, you pair with that driver, you go. If they're near you, if they're not near you, they'll call you and tell you this is how far I am, and you can decide to go. Very, very good thing. So download it today, Maramoja Taxi. And if you use the code SPICE30, you will get a 30% discount on your next ride. The code SPICE30. Our next guest is one who is very new to the country, and the embassy is also very new to the country, but relations between our country and this country have spanned 20 years. His Excellency Sultan Hajiyev is the ambassador, let's say it, extraordinary and plenipotentiary of the country of Azerbaijan to Kenya, and is also the permanent representative of Azerbaijan to the UN office in Nairobi. Good morning, Balozi.
Morning. Habari za asubuhi.
Salama bwana. Sana.
Asante sana. Asante kwa maliko.
Karibu sana. That is the hot seat of Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
How long have you been in the country?
Almost 6 months.
Hiyo ni miezi ngapi? Miezi sita? We call it miezi sita.
Miezi sita.
Yeah.
6 months.
6 months. Oh, yeah.
Sita is 6.
Right, very true. Sita.
6 months.
Yes.
Okay. And when did the embassy open in Nairobi?
Well, we started functioning last summer. We're currently working on our move to the permanent
The whole
location.
of last year was last summer for Kenya. So
okay, well, that's a very fair point, but I think it's your huge advantage, by the way, because whenever you're talking to people about weather, it's really difficult to understand which season are you in. When I'm seeing some of my Kenyan friends bundling up early in the morning saying it's cold, I'm saying where? I mean, what's cold? So going back to the embassy, as you've rightly mentioned, we have a long and successful history of relations between Kenya and Azerbaijan. We will be celebrating the 20th anniversary of establishing diplomatic relations later this year. But when it comes to the embassy of Azerbaijan operating in Nairobi, we started last July. And of course, just opening the embassy, your first months are going to be taken primarily with some of the administrative organizational issues. But at the same time, we've been able to advance a bit on bilateral relations agenda as well.
Okay. We'll be wanting to understand where Azerbaijan is in the world. Is it in South America? Is it in the Alps?
Is it in the Middle East?
Is it in the Middle East? Is it in okay. But to welcome you to the conversation, CT has the day's proverb. Every week, CT goes to one African country. He mines proverbs from that country. Well, he doesn't physically go, but sometimes he does. Mines proverbs from that country and then brings us one proverb a day for the week. This week, he's been in Nigeria.
Okay.
And he's been giving us proverbs in Pidgin English. He reads it, she gives it to us in proper Pidgin, and then we ask our guests to try and translate it from Pidgin English to English. Let's see if you can get it, and if you don't, it's okay. She'll help you.
Let's try.
CT, let's start with CT Pidgin.
Yes, let me massacre this pigeon. No matter how tall okra grow, he no go tall past owner.
Why do you sing it?
Because it makes me happy.
And today he's like this. So again, go again.
No matter how tall okra grow, he no go tall past owner.
So in Pidgin, it's no matter how tall okra they grow, it no go grow tall passing owner.
Okay.
Passing owner.
Passing owner.
I should have given up right away. From
the very beginning, from no matter.
Just to cut the chase, basically.
Okay, in English?
No matter how tall okra grows, it will not grow taller than its owner.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, I mean...
Ambassador, you know what okra is?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so now, what do you understand from that?
I think it requires a bit of profound, deep thinking and analysis. I prefer sharing it with you at a later stage, if you don't mind.
This is a very diplomatic answer. No. It has to be now. Spur of the moment.
Well, I mean,
your thoughts.
In my humble opinion,
Yes.
is basically when someone is starting something. I mean, when someone is really initiating some kind of the process. I mean, then most likely his investment or his role in that process will remain dominating, no matter how much or how hard those supporting or following his steps are going to basically try to deliver. Maybe I'm off the mark, but that's my reading, basically.
That's deep.
No, you're not off the mark at all.
Okay, well, thank you. Glad to hear that.
You're not. See, the beauty of an interpretation and why we ask of it, because we want to hear someone's take on it. So it can't possibly be wrong. That's your take.
Yeah. Thanks very much.
It's a good one. It makes sense.
Right.
It makes a lot of sense. It does make a lot of sense. So, Your Excellency Sultan, where is Azerbaijan?
Okay. We are in a very interesting neighborhood. We're next to Turkey, which is our traditional ally. We're next to Iran, Russia. We're one of the 5 countries with access to the Caspian Sea. Azerbaijan used to be part of the country known as Soviet Union, which collapsed in early 90s. And voila, that's where we are, basically.
So you're in Asia.
Well, it's a crossroads, and
Europe.
it's an interesting
Somewhere.
opportunity to position ourselves partially as Europeans, partially as Asians, subject to issues in discussion. And I mean, if you look at international organizations, and some of them, Azerbaijan is covered by Asian bureaus, units, and departments, and some of them, we are basically part of the European groups. But our ties and our partnerships are of equal importance both in Europe and Asia, and we see it as a major advantage, and we try to benefit from it economically, culturally, I mean, in every possible way.
Okay. What's a political system? Are you a monarchy, a democracy? Or?
No, well, it's a presidential republic. And speaking of our political system, we'll be having elections next month. The country is stable. Starting 1994, Azerbaijan has embarked on a path of development. That was when our national leader, Heydar Aliyev, came to power. He was in charge of the country for quite a number of years when it was part of the Soviet Union. Then he left because basically because of some political changes, he left. And when he returned to Baku in 1994, Azerbaijan was on the brink of collapse. We have been defeated militarily. The economy collapsed completely. The crime rate was totally despicable. So this was the most difficult, I would even say, tragic situation for the country. But his wisdom and his experience has managed to bring Azerbaijan back on the path of development. He stabilized the country. We signed what was known and is still known as the contract of the century, which has laid foundation for Azerbaijan's economic development. We are oil and gas rich country. And quite a number of major decisions were made which have laid foundation of Azerbaijan as an independent state. And that's what we're benefiting from now. The country is currently ruled by President Ilham Aliyev. He is son of Heydar Aliyev, but it's not a monarchy, as you've asked.
He was elected.
He was elected, and frankly speaking, being Azerbaijani citizen, I have a little doubt that he will be re-elected next February, because his positions were traditionally strong. But in 2020, under his leadership, Azerbaijan accomplished something that many thought is impossible. We've liberated our territories that remained under occupation by the neighboring Armenia by some 30 years. We're dynamically developing countries that is looking for peaceful partnership and cooperation with all the neighbors, including Armenia. However, that dark page is part of our history. For 30 years, 20% of the territory of my country was under occupation, as confirmed by 4 UN Security Council resolutions. There are internationally recognized borders of Azerbaijan, and 20% of those territories were beyond our control. The specific significance of elections next year is also partially because for the first time in our history, they will be taking place in the whole country. However, as I mentioned, we really hope that we're leaving behind that page of hatred and animosity. There is a lot for all of us to win from peace and partnership, and this is the policy of Azerbaijan's leadership. So we are very much optimistic looking into the future. Of course, there are some barriers, some hurdles. 30 years of most difficult relations cannot be erased overnight. However, we see some encouraging signs, and I think that our international partners are also very much in favor of those dynamics.
As you look at independent states, a lot of times you look at the conflicts that they have with other states, and unfortunately we have to sometimes look at the country through that lens in order to then understand where that particular country sits in the geopolitical space. What's Azerbaijan's current relationship with Armenia, and looking into how now you spread with these conversations around the world?
Well, as I mentioned, there is ongoing effort for the comprehensive peace agreement. There have been some very encouraging signs, because as difficult as relations are, we've made some progress, which is also recognized by our international partners. My government has repeatedly confirmed the strongest possible commitment to peace, partnership in the best interest of the entire region. I will be probably again repeating myself, but there are still some obstacles, because at this stage we are rather determined to make sure that the conflict is an issue of the past, and we wouldn't want the military conflict, as big as the roles that it plays in our recent history, to define Azerbaijan, or to basically be associated with what Azerbaijan is. We are a peaceful country. The only thing that we accomplished in 2020 and then in 2023, but that was only one-day special operation. We just restored our territorial integrity, and as of 2020, Azerbaijan embarked on a major reconstruction and rehabilitation program to rebuild what was destroyed completely, because those territories that I was mentioning were turned into desolation. These were nothing but minefields. Some of them still are. I mean, this is not something that I'm saying. This is something that is easily verifiable. There are many things on YouTube that you can just go and see what's left of what used to be vibrant and densely populated territories where Azerbaijanis and Armenians lived peacefully before the end of 80s, when our neighbors decided that they want to claim that land. And it must first, the idea was that it will become part of Armenia, then they claimed to be independent. Not a single country in the world has recognized independence of that self-proclaimed republic, including Armenia itself. Even so, it supported it, it protected it. And for 27 years, we tried. We asked, we pleaded, we tried to convince that this is not a way forward. We were offering all the compromises possible. Unfortunately, our neighbors have chosen to be non-receptive, and that was the reason events started in 2020. But again, I mean, looking into the future, one thing that we would want to do, we want to leave this page behind, because we don't want to leave our next generation with this imminent threat of facing a military conflict again.
What are the cultural ties between the people who live in those regions, between Armenian and Azerbaijani culture?
Well, Armenia and Azerbaijan are two very different countries with different histories. I mean, but as different as we are and always were, this was never an issue, because when I was growing up until the time that the conflict started, we were getting along with our Armenian friends perfectly well. I mean, even at school, I had a number of Armenian schoolmates. There were no issues between Azerbaijanis and Armenians. I mean, there were issues once in a while, but just like there are issues between Azerbaijanis and Azerbaijanis, or Armenians and Armenians. So the issue of ethnic belonging was not really known, because Azerbaijan was and remains a very tolerant country. There are representatives of different ethnic groups, of different religions, I mean, coexisting, I mean, living peacefully. And this was never an issue. However, when we faced that very challenge, which I was mentioning, we're completely unprepared. It happened at the time the Soviet Union started kind of trembling and shaking. And this has separated us big times. But we all know that no matter how deep the wounds are and how bitter the relations, I mean, could turn, how sour they can turn. One good thing about human beings, about human nature, is that people are able to reconcile. I'm pretty sure that Azerbaijanis and Armenians, if given a chance, can do the same.
You know, in every country along the borders, you'll find people from one side of the border who have ethnic ties to those on there across the border. It's just that they're in different countries.
Very true.
So in this particular territory, do these people who live here have ties ethnically with those in Armenia and those in Azerbaijan? And according to even their own argument, what's their argument? Do they feel closer to Armenia or closer to Azerbaijan?
Well, I mean, the territory where the conflict started, called Karabakh, is a territory that was populated both by Armenians and by Azerbaijanis. It was not even neighboring Armenia. It was after the conflict in the 90s and after military aggression that this territory, this area, Karabakh, and 5 adjacent regions were occupied by the Armenian military forces, and the 4 UN Security Council resolutions that I referred to are very clearly demanding immediate withdrawal of Armenian troops from the territory of Azerbaijan. Armenia has chosen to remain deaf and to ignore those resolutions for a number of years. Whenever I'm talking to my Armenian partners, I'm asking them this very basic question, and there is no answer. And in other questions that I'm trying to ask, whenever I'm being invited to discuss this very issue, is that, look, imagine you're living in an apartment and it consists of, say, 7 rooms or 5 rooms. And one day your neighbor comes and says, okay, is this your apartment? Yes. Do you have all the papers? Yes, I do. This is a part of my internationally recognized territory. But you know what? In 2 of these rooms, my ancestors lived like 10,000 years or 2,000 years ago. So why don't you get out? You know, I mean, first of all, I'm going to argue whether your ancestors lived here or not. But let's put it aside for a second. Let's imagine that they did. Does it mean that I have to leave? 1 million people became refugees in my country in early 90s because of the conflict. 1 million out of 9.5 million population of the country. As I mentioned, that was at the time the Soviet Union just collapsed. We were a newly independent country with super weak economy, with some major internal issues, and that was a major burden that, of course, claimed a major toll on the development of Azerbaijan, as well as the entire region. Looking back, the thing is that, of course, we lost a lot. I don't think our Armenian neighbors gained anything from that conflict, particularly now that they lost territories that they occupied by force and controlled for 27 plus years.
Okay. So looking at those areas where obviously because of proximity you deal with some of those conflicts, and then now looking at where you're looking outside of that region, Kenya, for example, and then folks start to ask the questions of the relevance of a relationship between Azerbaijan and Kenya. What would fuel that, and what would be the need to then have relationship, diplomatically or otherwise, trade-wise, with Kenya?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think we all know that we live in an intertwined and interconnected world. I mean, as distant and as remote as countries can be from each other geographically, if we look at it as a part of a global system, one cannot exist without the other, whether it sees those links or they're hidden. There are certain issues where Kenya and Azerbaijan are naturally partnering on, working on together. There are some issues where it's done in a planned manner. There are some agenda items, like, for example, climate change, where those connections are not necessarily at your table or at the top of your priorities at all times, but this way or the other, you are part of the global processes. The same when it comes to economy. I mean, it's very interesting that you asked this question, because as I was getting ready to my deployment, some of my friends, some of my colleagues back in Baku, in our capital, they were saying, okay, you're going to Kenya, so what do we have between Azerbaijan and Kenya right now? What's there? And I was like, not much, but this has to change. The whole idea, the whole purpose is that we want to strengthen relations which are in the best interest of both nations. I mean, this is something that is in the best interest of Azerbaijan and Azerbaijanis, but also of Kenya and Kenyans, and that comes to supporting each other on some global political agenda items, again, in line with national interest of two countries, but also it must be finding its reflection in some of the business and economic ties, because people have a lot to benefit from working with each other, trading with each other. There are some major fursa that we can easily see here in terms of opportunities and strengthening relations between the countries. I mean, there are some basic things like, Kenyan tea, Kenyan coffee, tourism, this is one thing which is like a low-hanging fruit. It's there, it's writing on the wall. I mean, Azerbaijan, as I mentioned, is a country with traditional experience in oil and gas. We also have some tourism opportunities. We're doing really well in agriculture. We have interesting ICT solutions. I mean, speaking of tourism, one of the reasons Azerbaijan is known in Kenya. Well, let me put it this way. Whoever knows Azerbaijan in Kenya knows it because of Formula One, which is one of the testaments to our success in becoming a well-developed tourist destination and also being able to host an event like this. Because when we look back at the challenges that we were facing 30 years ago, for example, I mean, I can tell you today's basically 20th of January, which is more or less where we are right now, which is tomorrow, is a rather dark date in the history of my country, because during our struggle for independence from Soviet Union, on this very date in 1990, Soviet Union sent troops to Baku, slaughtering innocent civilians. Tanks marched through the streets of Baku, leaving hundreds of innocent civilians killed. We didn't have an army at that time. We were part of the Soviet Union. There was no army to challenge or to resist troops sent by Moscow. However, it's a dark page, and should it be the case that someone was telling me that those very streets that tanks were going through 30 plus years ago will become the city circuit for Formula One, I would have been asking this person what did he have for breakfast, and telling him not to eat the same thing ever again. It's really interesting, but it's possible. Well, impossible is really nothing. So
a lot has changed in your country over those years.
Absolutely.
In a few short years comparatively. You look at the pictures of Azerbaijan before that independence and the pictures of Azerbaijan today.
Very true.
What we see you on Formula One when you're watching the Baku race and you're like, okay, what country is this? You'll tell us more about it. Let's take a break now. It's 28 minutes to 8. Our guest is His Excellency Sultan Hajiev. He is the ambassador of Azerbaijan to Kenya, also representing Azerbaijan at the UN office in Nairobi. We want to look at 20 years of diplomatic relations between Azerbaijan and Kenya. They formally established the embassy last year, sent the first ambassador to the country last year. He's sitting here with us today. They'll also be hosting the climate talks next year.
This year, in fact.
This year, actually, yes. It's 2024 already?
Yes.
Yeah, this year. You'll tell us a lot about it.
Sure.
Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Step up and shine. It's that time of the year to win big with Kiwi. Stand a chance to win school fees worth 35,000 Kenya shillings weekly and instant airtime or data. Here is what you simply need to do. Visit your nearest store, buy any participating Kiwi tin with a fabulous new design nationwide. Dial *459*5#, enter the unique code you'll find under the lid, and you could be the next winner. Kiwi, your trusted partner to protect, shine, and waterproof your shoes. Terms and conditions apply.
Across Africa, a new era has begun, shifting our focus to a new horizon, connecting us with one purpose: to create and share opportunities to grow. We are making a brighter tomorrow, built by our dreams and our energy. Across our continent, across the world, we are creating a better way to a better future. A Pan-African future. Together. EcoBank. A better way, a better Africa.
Oh, finally! It's my standard courier delivery.
At Standard Courier, we know that your time is valuable. That's why we guarantee swift and efficient deliveries to your doorstep every time. Give us a call on 0793 599 684 or schedule your next delivery by visiting our website www.standardmedia.co.ke/courier. Trust Standard Courier Service for all your courier needs. We deliver with pride.
If you go out of this country and come back the same person, then you have a problem. Buy land, 1 million. Put it there for 5 years. What's the purpose?
It'll have increased in value.
No, that's the thing. That's darkness. That's an eclipse. You don't do that.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person or that all hustlers are poor. I've seen that conversation.
Tell us, who is a hustler?
Who is a hustler? Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
Corruption in Kenya is a political accusation. The people who are actually corrupt are not pointed fingers at.
Kenya is not free. Kenya imeshikwa na mateka. It's under siege.
Have you seen that lodge on Nyeri Road? Very high fence. You can't even
Windows
sleep inside.
up near the ceiling.
Yes. And if you walk there at midnight, you see bats the size of cows.
And when it rains, it doesn't rain on that building.
Yes.
When you're at All Saints and it's raining, it doesn't rain on that building. Sunny conditions
The weather
at 15 in Nairobi, highs of 23 today, and we'll see highs of 25 in a mostly cloudy Nakuru. Highs of 25 as well in a mostly cloudy Nyeri, currently at 15. It's 13 and sunny in Eldoret. We'll see highs of 22. Friday, we'll see highs of 33 in a mostly cloudy Mombasa at 27. It's 27 and sunny in Malindi, going to highs of 30. Kisumu is 18 and sunny with highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 27 as well in a mostly sunny Kakamega at 16. Sunny conditions at 19 out in Kampala with highs of 29, while Dar es Salaam will see highs of 32. It's currently sunny at 28. It's 10 degrees and sunny in Johannesburg with highs of 24, and we're looking into sunny conditions at 27 in Mogadishu, going to highs of 33. It's 11 and sunny in Addis Ababa with highs of 24, while Lagos will see highs of 33 in a hazy morning, currently at 24. It's mostly clear at 24. In Kinshasa, we'll see highs of 33. Traffic had been building up parts of the city this morning. North Airport Road heading out towards the Embakasi Junction and then touching a little bit here and there on Outer Ring still continues. The Thika Superhighway coming into the city also busy as you approach the Pangani underpass, but that seems to be the stickiest part of the Thika Superhighway this morning. Ring Road Westlands is busy. Coming out on Chiromo is busy as well, but we're not at hold-up state just yet. Where there is a little bit of a hold-up is coming off of Limuru Road, and it looks like it'll continue for some time. It's busy then also coming in on Haile Selassie as well. All right, an eye on things this morning is what we get info from you about where we should or shouldn't go this morning on the roads. SpiceFM KE on X.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Continues with the ambassador of Azerbaijan to Kenya, Sultan Hajiev. He's here. We're marking 20 years of diplomatic ties between Azerbaijan and Kenya, and the first year of a proper embassy in Nairobi. You're a wealthy country. Like you told us, you've got gas and oil resources and quite vast. They're actually fueling the economy. Tell us about that.
Well, that's an interesting way to put it, wealthy country. As I mentioned, Azerbaijan is oil and gas rich country, and I think one of the major achievements of my government, of my leadership, is ability to turn those natural resources into real development, into the progress that can be seen. No country is immune to difficulties. I mean, we have our share of trouble, just like any other country on earth, including those most advanced, most developed. However, the path we have chosen of turning our natural resources into welfare for ordinary citizens has brought results desired, and even so, it's a continuum. Of course, no one can say, well, it's done, mission accomplished. But all in all, I believe we have a lot to be proud of. I mean, from some of the things that are easily noticeable that you were mentioning, that when you look at the streets of Baku, including for some of the YouTube videos, or when you're looking at some of those CNN commercials, I mean, you see that development, and people who travel to Baku are always impressed. I mean, and for understandable reasons. Speaking about our wells, one of the reflections or one of the key examples that I can refer to, that in rebuilding the territories that we liberated, Azerbaijan is using its resources and its resources alone. Almost 100% of certain $0.5 billion programs that we're implementing in those territories is funded by the government of Azerbaijan. 7 billion have been delivered already, and this doesn't include almost $500 million that we have invested and are investing in demining, because as I was mentioning earlier, those territories are heavily contaminated. One of the key priorities, as much as oil and gas is good for development, but it's really crucially important to diversify, because dependence on oil and gas economy is something potentially dangerous unless you start investing the benefits early enough to try to get yourself ready for an alternative scenario. I mean, the time will come imminently when you'll be facing some challenges. It's not just me as ambassador of my country speaking, but if you look at some of the rankings in terms of my country's economic indicators, it is quite impressive. I mean, let me limit myself to simply mentioning that the State Oil Fund of Azerbaijan, which is a sovereign fund basically managing the wealth of the country, has $55 billion in assets. And this is nothing to do with the state budget directly. This is just a separate line. This was a decision made by the national leader in early years of independence that income will be managed in a very particular way. As this institution won some international awards in terms of utilization of resources, and this is an interesting experience which we are taking pride in.
Okay, so 20 years of relations with Kenya, give or take, but then only last year the establishment of an embassy and all the required protocol, I assume. Why did it take that long, and then what is hopeful to achieve with this?
Well, let me put it this way. In the early years of independence, let's call caricat. I mean, basically, we did have our hands full. I mean, there was no clear understanding of importance. Not just Kenya, I think Africa as a continent. It came in time, and I think it's not the case with my country only, but quite a number of countries in other parts of the world have realized or have arrived to the understanding of the growing importance of Africa in the last years, basically, in the last couple of decades. Then when the understanding of importance came, there was an issue of resources, because despite being rich in oil and gas, I mean, it's not just turning switch on and then cashing your chips, basically. It's a process, it's a continuum. So even when we realized how strategically important partnership with this part of the world is, I mean, there were no resources immediately available for this particular destination. Then we've arrived at the stage when both were in place, both understanding as well as resources, and that basically triggered decision of the political leadership of the country to go ahead with establishing the embassy in Nairobi.
What I have been interested in finding out is, given your unique location, you're bang in the middle of the eastern part of Europe, western part of Asia, do you as a country belong to an economic bloc?
Well, speaking of our memberships, Azerbaijan is an active member of the non-aligned movement. Actually, as we speak here today, there is a high-level forum in Kampala in Uganda, and during that forum, Azerbaijan will be passing the chairmanship of the non-aligned movement to Uganda, because we were chairing the non-aligned movement for the last 2 years, and we did our one-year term, but then because of the results produced, we've been asked to do one more year. Azerbaijan was very active, and one of the important elements of the non-chairmanship has a direct link to our relations with Kenya, because it was during the non-aligned movement COVID summit that His Excellency Prime Cabinet Secretary Mudavadi visited Azerbaijan, and I think this is the highest level visit by the Kenyan official to Azerbaijan so far. We do hope that the number of such visits will be growing. They have grown already, of course not at this level of seniority yet, but there are some important bilateral visits planned for the coming months. And then you have already rightly mentioned the COP, the Conference of Parties, which is a climate change, and but that's a slightly different agenda item. So going back to our membership in economic blocs, let me also mention active role Azerbaijan is playing in the organization of the Turkic states, but otherwise we are more of a neutral country. I mean, we don't belong to other types of blocs, let's put it this way.
I always find it interesting. I mean, the headquarters of the non-aligned movement is Indonesia. And I'm thinking, interesting though, but is it really possible for a country to be non-aligned?
Well, it depends what you call being non-aligned, right? I mean, it's just the same with neutrality. Whenever a person says, I'm neutral, there is no absolute neutrality. I mean, so I believe, well, even so, it's less than perfect comparison. The same pretty much applies to the states, even the embodiments of neutrality. And I don't want to mention any country in particular. If you go a little deeper, there are some ties, there are some natural interest, financial interest, economic partnerships, preferences and inclinations. But all in all, when the key line is defined as those of non-alignment, neutrality, that I think helps a lot. And the non-aligned movement is a very potent institution. It's second to United Nations only in terms of the number of members. And I think it's becoming more and more active. And during Azerbaijan's chairmanship, quite a number of new avenues have been activated. There is, for example, parliamentary network of the non-aligned movements that was introduced under Azerbaijan's sponsored initiatives. There is the youth-based network of the non-aligned movement. One of the big events that took place in Azerbaijan last year was a gender conference of non-aligned movement countries, by the way, attended by Principal Secretary of your gender ministry, of the ministry, Principal Secretary for Gender and Affirmative Action by Madam Van Gombe. So, that's how that's all about neutrality.
You see why I ask is, when you compare to the United Nations, we see the clout the United Nations has. You, non-aligned movement, what, 120 members?
No, it's more. 120, that's right. Yeah.
Yes,
I thought
exactly.
you said 20. Yeah.
No, 120. So it's a large membership. We see the clout that the UN has. Surely the non-aligned movement ought to have, should you say, beyond the conferences that they hold, what would you say is the impact that they've had on this planet vis-a-vis some of the parts of this globe where they're warring nations, problems with neighbors?
It's interesting that you mention United Nations, because while I'm currently representing my country to United Nations here in Nairobi, I also spent quite a number of years working for United Nations myself. I'm a former UN official. When it comes to UN and non-aligned movement, one thing, in my view, is very clear, is that these are no competitors, because the function and institutions are very, very different. When it comes to what non-aligned movement can do, I think one requires to look back at the history and at the first years of existence and see where the non-aligned movement is now, to realize the potential in full. I think there are a lot of opportunities that are yet to be harnessed. I think some of them have been actively engaged on or have been brought in action. But whenever we're looking at the new sector or at the new area of interest for non-aligned movement, we need to factor in importance of coordination, because we're not creating any kind of alternative. And saying we, I'm not speaking about Azerbaijan only, but we're talking about the organization as such. There are many institutions in the world, and each of them have a role to play. I mean, it's just a question whether they are willing and doing so, and in doing so, if they are coordinating with other partners. I think non-aligned movement does that in an exemplary manner.
What are you hoping what is the country's hope that will happen in terms of relationship with Kenya over the next however long?
Well, I mean, I think I've partially touched upon those issues previously. I mean, there is global agenda, and I do believe that both countries can benefit from strengthening ties and looking at closer cooperation, partnership options. I've mentioned already more than once even issue of climate change. And the African Climate Summit that Kenya has very successfully organized and implemented, attended by some highest level representatives from many, many countries, is a clear testament of one of the leading roles that your country is playing in this part of the world. Azerbaijan, which is traditionally committed to environmental protection and other related issues, is now also has a bit of a special role because of hosting the 2024 Conference of Parties. So that's one kind of most immediately available go-to examples of partnership and cooperation. But there is so much more, basically. I just don't want to bore our listeners going through some of the areas that we are exploring. I've mentioned some of the traditional areas of interest and, let me say, fortes of my country. When it comes to Kenya, I'm sure you know them so well when you look at your, basically, just to look outside. I mean, your wildlife, for example, tourism is one thing that we can immediately look at, and there are many other issues. There are many other opportunities. I think that what's really important is a good traction and chemistry and commitment of the leadership, and I do believe that this is the case. There are many very positive signals which are making me personally very optimistic that these relations can grow. And as I mentioned, one important precondition for these relations to grow is that they must be in the best interest of people of both countries. Should be mutually useful and mutually beneficial partnership.
Are Azerbaijani companies venturing outside of Azerbaijan and investing in other countries? And is one of your KPIs marketing Kenya to the Azerbaijani companies for investment?
Yes, of course. As I've already mentioned, one of the key indicators of success, along with senior level engagements, top level meetings, and assurances of mutual support, is actually economic ties. I mean, that's what you refer to when saying money talks, basically. I think it's of crucial importance to make sure that Azerbaijani business, which is quite active globally, because of the reasons mentioned earlier, there are some resources that we can use in this regard. I think it's really important that it discovers Kenya, because we're looking at new investment opportunities, and I really like the slogan of your national air carrier, the pride of Africa. I really think Kenyans have a lot to be proud of, and one of the areas that is, in my view, fueling this pride is many investment opportunities that your country has. It's only a question of really exploring, of putting the right people together and encouraging this kind of partnership.
So what kind of companies would be investing in Kenya? I'm just thinking, I mean, in what areas do you see, for example, Azerbaijani companies coming to set up business here, operating from Kenya?
Well, I can refer to the areas of our traditional strengths. I'm not going to talk about oil and gas because we've covered it quite a bit. Let me mention something about oil and gas still, which I think could be of interest because very few people in this part of the world probably know about it. Everybody heard about the Nobel Peace Prize, but very few people know that the Nobel family made their initial fortune in Azerbaijan at the end of 90s, beginning of 20th century. If you Google, you will find the Nobel family house museum in Baku, which is something of sentimental value for nobles. And just basically mentioning this as an interesting example of a long history of Azerbaijan's active engagement on oil and gas. Speaking of other areas, construction is one area that we're traditionally very active in. Azerbaijani construction companies are operating in a number of countries of the world. We have quite a number of very strong IT companies active in e-governance, offering their solutions and engaging with a number of countries abroad. Well, I mentioned trade. There are some basic trade operations. I mean, from some low-level trade-related issues that can be there. There are touristic companies. Well, it's tourism. Whenever I was talking to my friends back in Baku, talking about beauties of Kenya, explaining how Marindadi with Rembo, right? How beautiful Kenya is. They were like, "Oh, well, but we don't feel like spending like $25,000 for 5 days." And I'm like, "Who told you need to spend $25,000 for 5 days?" I said, "Of course, if you want to, you can spend 250, no limit. But in principle, I mean, including the cost of travel, you can come and enjoy one of the best wildlife tourism destinations, and it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg." So, I mean, it's all about connecting the dots. I'm pretty convinced that if we bring like 25 to 30 business people from Kenya and the same number of business guys from my country, and you just clear the room yourself, you just go and you come back in few hours, they will already have something, I mean, at the tables, they will be already discussing the cost of transportation. And some people are saying it's too far away. No, it's not too far away. We know that today, in today's world, nothing is too far away.
How many other countries on the continent of Africa do you have embassies?
Well, we only have one in Addis, and we have presence in South Africa. Well, speaking of African continent, of course, we do have embassy in Morocco. We do have embassy in Algeria.
Okay. So meaning that given your position, how many other countries do you cover?
Well, as I was discussing this issue with my senior colleagues back in Baku, and they were asking the same question, I was telling them, let me start by covering Nairobi. Because, just having arrived to the country and trying to kind of, trying to bite more than I can chew. But I do expect to cover some more countries. And I have to say that I'm already in touch, even not having a very clearly defined official function. But since I'm here, quite number of potential counterparts or active counterparts from other countries in the region or in Africa in general are reaching out as they have some questions, and it's easy for them to talk to me here rather than talking to my capital all the time.
You'll be hosting COP29 this year. COP28 saw very many things happening. I mean, African countries came together first in the Africa Climate Summit and came to Dubai with one voice. But one of those voices that was also emerging out of COP28 as very controversial was the proposal, which was termed as preposterous by some, to have a conversation about end of fossil fuels. Where did your country stand, and where does it stand on that particular matter?
Well, I mean, it's interesting that you refer to this proposal being preposterous. I'm not going to label it in any way. COP is a big event, and I don't have to talk about the importance of COP, which is something that is long known as one of the top opportunities for the entire world to discuss climate change agenda. Azerbaijan is currently working on its agenda both as a host country as well as one of the members of the international community. One thing I can tell you right away is that for my country, successful COP29 is one of the top priorities, as clearly communicated by my head of state. There is a special commission established at the highest possible level, and all the resources will be mobilized, and we look forward to work with our counterparts, all of them internationally, in ensuring success of the exercise. I don't think I am currently able to offer my country's position on the specific questions that you have asked, because it's something for experts to deal with. I mean, something for people with clear mandate in this area. But speaking of it from my personal point of view, I can say is that this discussion will be getting more traction this way or the other because of one fundamental truth, which is undeniable. The time will come when these resources will run out anyway. I mean, we all know, and you don't have to be like a rocket scientist or oil and gas scientist to say that at some stage all the resources all over the globe will be running really, really thin. So, I mean, whether it makes sense to start getting ready or doing it today, well, I personally don't think so. Whether we must think about it, we totally should. But again, let me underline, it's just my personal opinion, and I'm not in a position to comment on it on behalf of my government.
Ambassador, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for shedding light on your country and now these relations that we have between Kenya and Azerbaijan. We'll be inviting you again and again ahead of COP29 and also to talk about very many other relations between Kenya and Azerbaijan.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Asante sana. Now, shukuru. I'll finish. I'll probably wrap up by saying tuonana baadaye, even so it's not an immediate baadaye. Something a bit later on. But really appreciate this opportunity. And let me just say once again how much I enjoy being here in Nairobi, and I really appreciate the opportunity to contribute to strengthening relations. I mean, how to say, usiano katia inchi zetu kuhimarisha. So basically, thank you so very much, and I'm wishing you a weekend in Jema, and enjoy your Friday. Thank you so very much for having me today.
The Ambassador of Azerbaijan to Kenya, Sultan Hajiev, 8 a.m.
National Security Support Mission in Haiti. Mudavadi spoke during a meeting with Algerian Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf on the sidelines of the ongoing 19th Non-Aligned Movement Summit held in Munyonyo, Uganda. He affirmed the commitment of Kenya to lead international efforts to support the quest for peace and stability in Haiti, as Attaf pledged Algeria's continued collaboration with Kenya on the issue. The government has disbursed the second batch of 14.4 billion shillings for scholarships and loans to first-year students in public universities under the new higher education funding model. Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu made the announcement, saying the funds will benefit government-sponsored students who successfully made their applications through the recently launched financing portal. He said the funds would also benefit the 2023-2024 cohort of continuing students who are in their second semester of study. The CS outlined a breakdown of the expenditure, saying 10.39 billion shillings of the total amount would be disbursed to the Higher Education Loans Board, while 3.98 billion shillings would go to scholarships through the university's fund. And Pastor Dorcas regarded decried the status of schools for those with disabilities and called for a higher education capitation allocation. Speaking at the ACK St. Monica School for those with mental disabilities, Pastor Dorcas said it was a sad situation where those with disabilities lacked food and basic amenities to facilitate their learning. She challenged officers in both the national and county governments to consider the plight of people with disabilities, noting that they have other physical and mental challenges facing their lives. On a sad note, and one person was killed while another sustained serious injuries following a cargo aircraft accident at Eldoret town in Somalia. According to reports, the aircraft model Skyward Fokker 50-tail 5Y JWG, which had been contracted by the United Nations World Food Programme, allegedly overran the 1,000-meter runway and crashed into a building in the town centre. The aircraft, operated by Jetways, weighed 7 tons at the time of the crash. Only 4 people were reportedly on board, and 2 of them have since been confirmed safe. The Somali Civil Aviation Authority has since confirmed the crash, saying a probe is underway to establish the cause of the accident. And police in Machakos are detaining 3 robbery with violence suspects believed to be part of a sophisticated car theft syndicate operating in Kenya and Tanzania, with the focus on the Nairobi and Machakos counties. The suspects, George Maloba, Martin Nyamai and Maurice Muli, appeared before the Machakos law courts, where the prosecution successfully obtained a 14-day detention for further investigation into their alleged involvement in a web of criminal activities. The arrests come after a foiled robbery with violence in Athi River, in which the suspects kidnapped 2 people, including the driver. And world cross-country champion and world 5-kilometer record holder Beatrice Chebet is the December 2023 Sports Journalists Association of Kenya and LG Sports Personality of the Month winner. Chebet clocked 14.13 at the Casa del Nasus Sunday, December 31st, to improve on the previous women-only world record of 14.29 set by Ethiopia's Senbere Teferi on September 12, 2021. The 23-year-old National Police Service officer's performance was also faster than women's world record set in a mixed race of 14.19 achieved by Ethiopia's Ejegehu Taye at the 2021 Casa del Nasus. And former Mombasa and Kenya Lionesses player Evelyn Kalemara has been named the new Kenya Harlequin women head coach. The loose head prop, who retired just last year from active duty, takes her first steps in management after an illustrious career spanning almost a decade. In a statement, Kenya Harlequin acknowledged that Kalemera's vast experience in the national team will be crucial in motivating and helping elevate the level of rugby at the Harlequin women. And Nigeria took a huge step towards reaching the last 16 at the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations with a 1-0 win over host Ivory Coast in Group A. The match's key moment came in the 55th minute after Osman Diomande caught Victor Osimhen in the box that allowed William Truss Ekong to blast home from the penalty post. Roared on by a raucous crowd, the Ivorians pushed hard for an equalizer but failed to create a clearer chance against a solid Super Eagles defense. This is News. I'm Dennis Alceto. Good morning.
Traffic on Vibes Radio.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
It's critical that people pay taxes. But then taxation has to have a limit. When you start overtaxing people beyond certain limit, then this is now we call robbery with violence.
We are all struggling, but we don't show. If you're not doing well, shame on you. But you have to say, I'm broke and I'm struggling. We are not okay until everybody is okay.
We are pretending to have political parties. Why don't we just be honest? And we say, these are the Luyas, these are the Kambas, these are the Kikuyus, and we find ourselves in Kenya.
You know, with politics and leadership, no matter what you do, there will always be a complaint. There will always be the assumption that you're either stealing or you're not doing things right. As a leader, don't fear. If you know you're doing the right thing, you've thought about it, you've got an expert advice, do it, then understand later.
This country, we don't need prayers. Prayers is between you and God. Good governance and thinkers who care about the country and not their stomach.
Patrick Lodge, Otieno Lumumba. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
CT Muga.
CT Lodge.
Muga, not Muga.
He's here and here's the day's proverb.
One man marries a woman. Another man marries trouble.
Is he the same man?
Spice.
A lion cannot eat more than 2 donkeys. It would die a natural death because there is no ICU in the forest. In Kenya, it has become the situation that you cannot conduct 2 elections. In fact,
with the same IEBC.
You can't.
I tell you about this Indian friend of mine who was enjoying other Indians in the group. He wrote the word valve and told them, read it.
So how did he say it? I really want to know.
The valve. Because kina Ednah, it's the, like you said, the bees and the peas. Kila kitu mkisia kisema atasema opposite.
Opposite?
Ukisema yeye anasema opposite.
Opposite.
Bro, ukisikiliza namna hii unasikia opposite.
The Situation Room, Spice. The only way to start your day.
Okay, so traffic on the Thika Superhighway, also looking at traffic on Kangunda Road, piling up as you get out towards Outer Ring. So just a little bit of movement as you try to get out of that onto Outer Ring, but as you get towards the junction coming off Thika Superhighway, it's going to clog up just a little bit. Survey is also pretty busy, bumper to bumper after your service lanes, through towards the CBD via way of Muranga Road. That's busy. And then as you get towards Muthaiga Square coming off of Kiambu Road, bumper to bumper as well. We're looking at bumper to bumper situation on Limuru Road, Parklands Road as well, very busy. Coming in on Chiromo is busy as well. Ring Road Westlands, a lot of traffic here, so it's going to slow things down just a tad. But there's be movement. Langata Road is packed as you get towards the Nyayo Stadium roundabout, some movement on Lusaka Road, but then there's that hold up as you get off of Mombasa Road as well. Apart from that, I think we should be able to traverse these streets, but we're just watching out for those spots and letting you know so that you can use alternate routes this morning. SpiceFM KE on X through the morning. Let's talk there as we get through it.
is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room. The
All right,
only
10
way to
after 8.
start your day.
Welcome to the third hour of the Situation Room. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Still live on SpiceFM, on KTN Home, on YouTube, and on Facebook. Have you downloaded Maramoja Taxi app? If you haven't, you should today. What do you Google? You Google Maramoja what?
Transport company.
And then?
You look for the blue app.
And then?
And then you download.
And then?
You generally register.
And then?
You seek to proceed. And procedure here means you're probably ailing enough. Ailing.
Hailing a taxi.
Yeah, there you go, app. So, or you want to just find out how it works.
Very good.
But you'll be well informed.
Very good.
All the information you'll seek, you will find.
All of it. All what you seek, you will find it all. Right? Load money onto the Maramoja wallet, get 50% bonus immediately. Start using Maramoja Taxi. Use the code SPICE30. You get 30% discount immediately. 50% bonus, 30% discount. Nini, hey,
what again do you want in this
life?
life?
More. Surely. Not come to suffer. Not in this life. Remind us why we need to buy Kiwi
Because
and shine.
We're in the 32nd week of January.
Yes.
School fees is still a priority for lots of people today.
Yes.
And Kiwi says, you know what? Yeah, we're stepping up, we're shining with our shoes being polished. However, we also see that school fees is needed around this time. So walk into any store today where you will find, and I keep insisting, specifically the new logo Kiwi tin. That's what you're looking for. When you buy one of those, under the lid is a code. You'll then dial star 459 star 5 hash. When you dial that number, you get airtime or data instantly, and then you get entered into a draw whereby 35,000 shillings is being won by 4 people every week, and it's still on. There's still a school fees burden. There's still a need to do that. You need to walk into a store, buy Kiwi today, get school fees sorted out, and then we move.
Like that?
Yes, please.
And like that. And so it happens. Okay. So yesterday we had a Justice Thursday conversation.
We did.
And in our Justice Thursday conversation yesterday, it was all about the recent conversation regarding judiciary and whether it's the conduct of the judiciary as a whole or conduct of individual officers working in the judiciary. But there's this whole political conversation right now in the country. Oh, judiciary, oh, corruption, oh, rampant, oh, no, oh, independence, oh, interdependence, oh, this, oh, the other. One of the people who's been very, very vocal about this is Senior Counsel Menasir Abdullahi, who once sat in the Judicial Service Commission, who once was chair of the Law Society of Kenya. In fact, recently he'd been invited by judges to go and talk to them. And he told them, by the way, guys, you've invited me. This is what I'm coming to tell you. And what he was going to tell them was...
Not what they invited you for.
Hey. So they were like, please, you don't come.
Don't come.
Just don't come. Now, he's also been talking very many things in public regarding several courts, one of them being the Supreme Court of Kenya. And the judges in the Supreme Court sat, and all of them decided to have a conversation with him. They sent him some communique yesterday. The long and short of it, which is saying, because you have said that we are incompetent, we are corrupt, you all those things, you keep talking badly about us, so, and yet you've been appearing before us, so let's sort this thing out once and for all, okay?
Don't come.
Just don't come appear before us. Okay? And not just you. You cannot even come here by proxy. That is somebody who represents you, whom we know that you're controlling from outside. No. Do not come here in any shape or form before us. Now that has raised some serious issues. Everybody asking, hey, what does that mean? What does this and the other mean? As always, when you have such matters where we seek to understand what the law says, what the Constitution says, we have our friend Waikwa Wanyoike, who is a constitutional lawyer, whom we always invite, and we've invited him for this conversation again. He's in the UK. Waikwa, good morning.
Good morning, Eric.
Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Welcome to the Situation Room. Wherever you are, let's make that the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me.
Now, we are going to, first of all, give you the day's proverb, just so that everybody is on the same page. CT has the day's... this week, the proverbs are from Nigeria. CT has been learning Pidgin, and his teacher, Ndu, has been doing a very good job. So, the Pidgin that CT spoke on Monday is definitely not as the Pidgin he speaks today. He is a very much improved student. He is exceeding expectation, as Ndu would say. So, City, in perfect Pidgin, what is the day's proverb?
Right, in imperfect Pidgin, here goes. No matter how tall okra grow, ain't no go tall pass owner. What?
No matter how tall okra grow.
No matter.
No
It's not,
matter.
yes.
No go grow.
Do you know that totally changes the meaning in
no
Pidgin?
matter and no matter are
If you
different.
say na and no, it's very different. In
Na
Pidgin.
is now.
Na is. No is no.
Allah. You get it now?
It's a matter of how tall the okra grows. So are we saying no matter, or it is the matter of how it grows, as opposed to it doesn't matter how it grows? So which one is it, City?
How am I supposed to help you? How am I supposed to help you?
I don't know now. It's you to tell me what. Does it say na or no?
What comes after the N? Is it an A or an O?
You who wrote it? What did you...
I wrote an A.
You wrote an A.
Okay.
I think it's an O for the purposes of this.
This is why I prefaced my statement and said, let me read in imperfect Pidgin. I have been consistent. It's imperfect. Now, please correct it and make it perfect.
No matter how tall okra they grow, it no go grow tall passing owner. Abi?
Yes.
Abi.
Abi? Okay.
Yes.
Waikwa.
Hazard a guess. What do you think this is saying in English?
I don't know. I'm actually a bit forewarned because of do's, so I'm a bit cautious. But it just means that all the way I interpret it is all the equivalent for me is when we say, for example, regardless of how wise a child becomes, they can never have the same wisdom as the parents. So all of us have limits in terms of what knowledge, what competence, what wisdom we may have. That's how I read it.
You cannot surpass.
You have to be humble enough to accept that.
Okay, actually, the message is now the okra should be humble. and know that you will not grow taller than your owner.
Because we'll cut you down and make you into okra soup.
Yes. All right. So, Waikwa, let's get straight into this. You saw, of course, the communication from the Supreme Court yesterday to Ahmed Asir Abdullahi, and it elicited some serious conversations online and in various forums. What is your take? First of all, what's your understanding of what the Supreme Court has told Ahmed Asir?
My understanding is that the Supreme Court has said to him that because of the manner in which he's conducted himself, and the Supreme Court has been specific in the media, including social media, because he's continued to attack the Supreme Court, in this media, according to the Supreme Court, especially in regard to referring to the court in its corporate composition, and there is an indication also referring to judges in their individual capacity as mostly incompetent and corrupt, and I'm using the language in the communication. And because there has been incidents in the past when the court has says it has engaged him on these issues, and he seems not to have changed his posture, then it's barring him, or it's refusing him audience to the Supreme Court, and it seems like for life. But it also indicates that it's not only barring him audience, it's barring him audience through, and through here is important, other lawyers from his firm, or anybody else, any other lawyer appearing on his behalf or holding brief for him. So that's my understanding, which means that he cannot speak at the Supreme Court, or he cannot get audience himself, or he cannot get audience through lawyers in his law firm, or any other lawyer who he asks to hold brief for him. And the nuance there, I think it's important, especially because of what I've seen. There are some of the analysis I've seen in the social media and elsewhere.
So what does that mean? When it says that we are barring you or your law firm, first of all, is it unfair to the law firm?
That's the critical point. So if you look at some of the analysis, there are people who seem to be suggesting that what the court has done is to bar even the law firm. I'm not sure the law firm from appearing, or lawyers from the law firm appearing before the Supreme Court. I don't necessarily agree with that interpretation myself. What I think the court is specifically saying is that if, for example, there is a matter where he is counsel of record, or the counsel who is retained, and there are different ways that lawyers are able to appear before the court. Sometimes they'll appear because they are the primary lawyers who are hired by a client. Sometimes they will appear because they are working with another lawyer who's hired by the client, but they are assisting that lawyer. And in our designation, for example, where you have senior counsel, it's not uncommon that a junior lawyer who is not even with the law firm, or could be with the law firm, is the one who has the day-to-day carriage or responsibility over the matter. But the senior lawyer, because of the experience, is called upon, for example, to come and do specific duties. So, for example, addressing the court and to lead the junior lawyer. So what some people seem to be saying is that no lawyer from his law firm can appear before the Supreme Court. That's not how I read the communication from the Supreme Court. I read it to mean that if it's Amin Nasil Abdullahi, who is the one who is supposed to be representing the client, all appearing for the client, all appearing in the matter himself as a lawyer, but for some reason designates a lawyer from his law firm to appear on his own behalf, which is through him, through that lawyer, for example, or a lawyer who is not from his law firm, which is a common practice also for lawyers to ask other lawyers to hold brief in court, then the court will not hear, because in effect, the court would be hearing him, because that's the normal understanding of when a lawyer is appearing on behalf all appearing or holding brief for another lawyer.
Okay.
So, Waikwa, what? I mean, all of this stemmed from the communication that we saw coming from the Supreme Court. All of this stemmed from their, disappreciation of would-be comments and things that he had been saying over time. According to the law, or what is constituted, can the Supreme Court make such a decision based on what would be termed as public ridicule or criticism? Can they make a decision as such like what they did yesterday as a court because of criticism or ridicule of the court itself?
I think it's important to nuance a few things. The Constitution actually expects the public to criticize, comment, and assess how public institutions perform. And Supreme Court is not immune to that. Every public institution is immune to that, is subject to that. Public officers are subject to that, and judges are public officers. So it's important to start with that foundational fact that the Constitution itself actually encourages people to give commentary to how public officers and public offices are performing. That's one. The second is that that is a component of freedom of expression that the Constitution guarantees, the freedom to criticize and all that. And the limitations on the freedom of expression are quite actually limited. So sometimes, and when it comes to especially freedom of expression that's directed to public officers, the law is much more permissive about what members of the public can say, because there is an acceptance in law that a public officer, or the kind of criticism a public officer should be able to receive, is not your average criticism, that you criticize your neighbor or something, because they have that public duty, and so they should be much more open, and the law is going to permit or will be a bit more elastic in terms of the levels of criticism. That relates to the criticism that, because you specifically used the word public, from the public. But remember, and this is the second fundamental foundational fact, remember, lawyers are what we call officers of the court. And so when lawyers are commenting on matters that relate to court, relate to judges, they are, as much as the Constitution applies to them, they have a heightened duty being public officers, and there are specifically rules that apply to how they are supposed to communicate about their own opinion or their client's opinion about the court or about individual judges. And those are what we call code of conduct for lawyers. And this is universal. Any jurisdiction you go, you'll find that lawyers have code of conduct. Sometimes those code of conduct are actually statutes of parliament. Sometimes they are regulations, and sometimes they are what we call professional rules. So it's important to know that when we are assessing who has made the criticism, the starting point is to ask, who is this person? And especially, are they a lawyer? And are they bound by more rules than your average citizen? To your question, to the other part of your question, whether it's within or possible for the court to do this. It is possible for the court to discipline, if you want to use that word, or to provide caution to a lawyer. Again, there are different ways lawyers are regulated. The primary way is through the Law Society. The Law Society, through its itself or through its disciplinary tribunal, has regulatory role of lawyers. And so if, for example, there is an opinion, whether based on a complaint by a member of the public, another lawyer, or through its own motion that a lawyer has misconducted himself, then the Law Society has the mandate to regulate. But the court, which is the second way that a lawyer is regulated, can also regulate the conduct of a lawyer. Ordinarily, that happens when the lawyer is before the court or has active proceeding before the court, and often happens to be restricted to the conduct of the matters or the matter that is before the court. That does not mean entirely that the court cannot go beyond an active matter, but it's unusual for the court to have this blanket regulation over the lawyer, and so it's important to say that again, there are nuances to this. It's not impossible for the court to regulate a lawyer. Whether this was right or wrong, I think that's what we should debate, or whether the court was right or wrong to do what it did is what we should debate.
I mean, so can we ask that question then, Waikwa? Because I think it is important to look at. A lot of times we're applying, through this, obviously, applying the law, looking at what is constituted, but then the way in which it looks to the public also, I think, is just as important. And the optics that play out here, that he's brought up issues severally. And one would say, well, rather than discuss those issues, or rather than look into the fundamentals of those issues, the choice that was taken was to basically gag him. And is that what should be? And that's where we start to look at, was it right or wrong? Should they have said, here's a warning? You know, should they have said, this is what we're asking you to do, before they brought this what looks like blanket, complete banning kind of thing? And then one would ask the question, is there any merit in then the things that he's been saying?
Those are quite a few and very loaded questions. So let's start with whether the court can do this, and then go to whether how it did it is acceptable, and then the issue of merit. So your earlier question was about whether the court has power, and that's where you start. Does the court have power to do what it did? And we can debate that, and lawyers are debating that, the public is debating that. There are provisions of the law that does give credence to the ability of the court to regulate the conduct of lawyers. We can debate in what circumstances that could be done, and then we can debate whether it can be done in the way the court did. But then the second question, even assuming that the court has powers to do this, the second question is, what process or procedure should the court follow in doing so? And did the court follow the right procedure? And I think actually more than whether the court can reprimand or take action against Ednah Seal, the more contentious question will be whether how it did it was right or is supported by the law. Just very briefly to the first question on power. Again, it's important for your listeners to know that the reason lawyers are called officers of the court is because they have a foundational duty to protect the reputation of the administration of justice. And so that is a higher duty than your regular individual on the street. And the idea there is that if there is disrepute in the administration of justice, then the whole foundation for the authority of the court crumbles or is questioned. And so lawyers, especially as part of the legal profession, have an overarching duty to protect that reputation. And I think that's partly what the court is saying it's in its communication. When it comes to process, remember, court processes are processes that are very structured, and we call them, the part of the reason we say a court is a court of record. So everything that is done in court has to be structured. If you want to have a dispute resolved in court, you don't just show up in court and say, I want my case heard. There is procedure. If a judge wants something done, there is a procedure that a judge would follow. And the questions that arise is, for example, was it right for the court to, and I may not have all the facts, but was it right for the court to communicate or to, first of all, sit and take a decision in the manner it did? Was there a live case before it under which it could have initiated these proceedings? Or is there another basis under which it could have initiated the proceedings? The court in the communication talks about an old case that was decided actually when Chief Justice Maraga was still in court. Is that the basis under which this action is taken? Or is it on the basis of recent utterances by the senior counsel? The court, and I haven't seen this, also indicates there is evidence and says that it's attached records of evidence. How did it obtain that evidence? And more fundamentally, what is this that the court has issued? Is it a decision or a communication? And if it's a decision, is it the kind that the Constitution contemplates the court can issue? So, under, for example, Article 163(7), which is the authority where the Supreme Court derives to be able to issue decision. Can this decision be revisited either by the court itself or can it be judicially reviewed in a lower court, that is the High Court? So the process question for me I think are more stickier than even the power question.
Let's take a break. We continue the conversation shortly at 23 to 9. Waikwa Wanyoike is a constitutional lawyer. He's joining us this morning. We're looking at, all right, so what's actually the legal position of what we've seen, the communication from the Supreme Court of Kenya to Senior Counsel Nasir Abdullahi, basically barring him from appearing before the court or through directly or through any form of representation. What does it mean and what precedent is it setting? Is it justified? Is it not? Is it legal? Is it not? Keep it here. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Across Africa, a new era has begun, connecting us with one purpose: to create and share opportunities to grow. Across our continent, across the world, we are creating a better way to a better future. A Pan-African future. Together. EcoBank. A better way, a better Africa.
Step up and shine. It's that time of the year to win big with Kiwi. Stand a chance to win school fees worth 35,000 Kenya shillings weekly and instant airtime or data. Here is what you simply need to do. Visit your nearest store, buy any participating Kiwi tin with a fabulous new design nationwide. Dial star 459 star 5 hash, enter the unique code you'll find under the lid, and you could be the next winner. Kiwi, your trusted partner to protect, shine, and waterproof your shoes. Terms and conditions apply.
Some very nice, mature music.
It really took me back to my days, and I can just feel young again and enjoy the vibes.
Spice.
I'm a big listener of SpiceFM.
They play the best music.
This is 94.4 Spice.
In Nairobi at 19, we'll see highs of 23. 25 will be the high in a mostly sunny Nakuru. And at 16, it's sunny in Nyeri with highs of 26. Eldoret will be high. Go to highs of 22 and lows of 13. Mombasa is sunny at 28 with highs of 34. And we'll see highs of 33 in a sunny Malindi at 30. Kisumu at 21 is sunny, and Kakamega at 20 is sunny as well. 19 and sunny conditions in Kampala, and sunny at 28 in Dar es Salaam. 12 and sunny in Johannesburg, and sunny conditions at 29 in Mogadishu, with 14 sunny conditions in Addis Ababa. It's clear at 24 in Lagos, and sunny at 24 in Kinshasa.
Spice up your life.
Spice and everything nice. All right. Okay.
Spice up your life.
Coming off Langata Road, heading out towards Aerodrome, there's some hold up there as you get onto Huru Highway, and also on Jogo Road coming towards Landis, some of that sticky as you get onto Haile Selassie. It's still pretty heavy coming in from Survey on the Thika Superhighway. We're looking at bumper to bumper traffic moving ever so slowly as you get towards Muranga Road, reducing quite some now on Kiambu Road, so you can get on it and be out towards Muthaiga Square. Not too far from now. Some movement on Ring Road Westlands, but in and outbound traffic is still a thing. Let's keep an eye on things and see what happens closer to 9. We'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
We're back.
94.4 Spice FM.
Looking at what happened yesterday. So, just back to the initial question. Did you say yes or no to the question whether the Supreme Court has any legal basis to bar a lawyer from appearing before it?
Yes, the court can actually bar a lawyer from appearing before it. And in fact, in the Supreme Court Act, the court does have power to require a lawyer not, for example, to appear before it or to discipline a lawyer in proceeding for whatever you may consider to be unacceptable behavior. There is questions about and the provisions of the law, the specific provision that I'm referring to, seem to cap that to not more than 18 months. So there's questions about whether, if that is the provision, for example, the court is relying on, which is unclear because the reasons or the communication does not indicate that, whether the court again has the powers beyond the power to bar, but how far does that power extend?
Okay. Then the second bit...
And Eric, I think it's important to know that courts have powers generally to regulate their own proceedings. And again, and in doing that, and that's why, for example, courts are given powers of contempt, and the power of contempt can be on the face So when the contempt is happening before a judge, or it could be contempt that happens when the judge is not looking. So it happening maybe outside or where the judge is not available, but is, for example, connected to the proceeding. So courts have these powers because they are the powers that allow them to regulate their proceedings. Again, the question that remains is, was this power being exercised in the context of a continuing proceeding, which is not indicated, or was it being exercised generally? And if you look at the letter, for example, or the communication, you'll notice that it's copied to, for example, other law firms. Why is it copied to other law firms? That's unclear to me, and maybe unclear to other members of the bar or the public.
You also spoke about the importance of looking at the process of arriving at this decision, where you said it could be you're arriving at a decision because of a live case where the court then feels that this particular advocate has breached the proceedings of the court, sub judice or whatever they've done, or it could be because of a matter that's been brought before the court to the court's attention by another party on what has happened with regards to a certain lawyer. In this particular case, you are wondering what the process has been on the court arriving at the decision.
Yes, again, because it's unclear to, at least to me. So the court does indicate, to be fair to the court, that this does arise from comments or communication is done in the media, including social media. But the court does also allude to continuing and past behavior. But in law, when a court issues a decision, that decision, as I stated from the beginning, arises from a process that is happening. And in the context of contempt, for example, in the context of court taking some disciplinary action against counsel or any individual who is a litigant, that could arise from a proceeding that is before the court. And again, it's unclear to me. But can I say two other things that I think are also important to highlight? And that goes to the question about, also touches to the question about whether the court has power to bar. There is the question about, even assuming the court had the power, even assuming that the process that the court has followed is the right process, is this a proportionate punishment? Is it a proportionate punishment? And is it a punishment? In assessing, first of all, whether it's a proportionate punishment, you actually start with, is it a punishment that is contemplated by the law or that is available in law? And even assuming it was, again, looking at the conduct that is attributed or that is being punished, is it proportionate?
What do you say?
Because there
what do you say? You've already established, you've already said yourself that it's based in some provisions of the law. So whether it's proportionate or not, how would you judge how proportionate it is? What would you use as a measure of gauging the proportionate nature of it?
So just to be clear, I've not specifically say that it's based on the provision of the law. I was answering the general question whether the court has power to punish or to take action, including refusing a lawyer audience. And to that question, to that general question, yes. And actually that power, as I indicated, could be derived from different places, including, for example, a specific provision of the Supreme Court. But again, it's unclear from the communication whether that is any of that power is what the court was exercising. And that's why reasons are always important, because sometimes reasons will set the foundation or basis where the court is coming from. And so there are questions about that. On how to establish proportionate. Proportionality is based on, first of all, does the law, first of all, allow for this kind of punishment, and to the extent, for example, that the punishment is defined. Remember, rule of law requires that any action by a public officer has to find a basis in law. So the first question then that is asked is there a general power for the court to be able to disbar a member from appearing before it for life? But assuming that there is that power, and so the court ought to indicate whether there is that specific power to bar people for life. As I indicated, the provision in the Supreme Court does cap that kind of punishment to 18 months. But assuming if the court has that power, is it proportional? And proportionality is based on now the intensity of the reprehensible behavior,
the severity.
And again, you need to be able to see the evidence to be able to determine.
Who would determine, Waikwa? Because here we are talking about the apex court, right? Who's made this determination, and then has come about to a decision whereby they've brought out an individual who they said has done X, Y, Z. They have then gone ahead to prefer a punishment on him. Who then would be the one to determine whether this was outside the scope of power? Who then would be the one to come and ask the questions as to whether they exceeded the cap, which you've said is 18 months? But the letter is very clear that they've banned him for life.
Well, they haven't said life.
Well,
they just haven't said till when.
They haven't said till when. All right. Who then would be able to come to ask questions to determine whether this decision exceeded the power of the court? We're talking about the apex court. Who then would do that? Who would ask the questions? Who could he appeal? Who would he appeal to? What?
My own belief is that this is a decision that Ahmed Nasir or anyone else can take to the High Court, specifically for judicial review, so that the High Court is able to, first of all, determine whether it has powers to hear the case. I think the High Court would have power to hear the case, because one thing that is very clear to me, that this is not the kind of decision that is contemplated in Article 163(7), which means that it's a final decision of the court. In fact, I see this more as a decision in administrative action decision, which we call an Article 47 decision, which is amenable to judicial review by the High Court. And then all the questions now you're raising here would come before that court. Of course, that court, the first thing it would have to say or to determine is whether it has jurisdiction. I want to emphasize two things, and this goes to an earlier question that you raised and also raised by Eric. It's important, the question about merit. It's important also for the public to know that what makes it very difficult for judges is because judges have the currency for judges is two things, or primarily two things: intellectual heft and integrity. And the reason why the law is very protective of judges, and especially the law is protective of judges based on the conduct of lawyers, is because if the judges or the court rules integrity, then the whole administration or the reputation of the administration of justice is in disrepute. And so it's important when allegations are made against judges or a court, and especially when those allegations are made by a lawyer, that there is evidence or basis for it. And so those questions to be raised or to be determined. And in fact, if this goes to judicial review, part of what I think the court would be looking at, assuming the court takes jurisdiction, is whether there was a basis, even for Nasil also, to be making this allegation. And has he provided evidence, or does he have evidence to show? But the last point I would also say, and why this becomes very controversial, is the responsibility of the Supreme Court. Judges have immense power. In fact, in the architecture of our Constitution, the final authority on the Constitution is on judges. And so sometimes that's why judges have to be extremely cautious on how they exercise that power. And the uproar, for example, I've seen, especially from the members of the bar, I think arises from the fear that given the authority and the finality that judges exercise their power, was it right, for example, for the Supreme Court to have taken what seems to be a very drastic decision, and especially where it's unclear what process was followed, including whether, for example, there was evidence or there was an opportunity for senior counsel to defend himself or to make representation.
A lot of sorry, CT, go ahead.
What I'm pondering over is where does the Judicial Service Commission come into all this? I mean, the courts are supposed to have the role of refereeing. They are supposed to be arbiters. So when you have a tussle with an arbiter, yes, you said you can go for judicial review, but what exactly does the Judicial Service Commission have any say on a matter such as this one?
So the mandate of the Judicial Service Commission, especially, of course, the Judicial Service Commission has various duties, but one of the main duties is to discipline judges. But for Judicial Service Commission to be able to discipline a judge or to inquire into the question whether a judge should be disciplined, there has to be a complaint launched before it, or the Judicial Service Commission has to notice something that the judge has done that requires it to inquire into the conduct of the judge. And this is part of the dilemma here, because if you make accusation in the public, for example, indicate that a court or a judge is corrupt, but you don't present a complaint against that judge or the court, then the Judicial Service Commission can't do anything. But it's also being very, very unfair when, for example, somebody makes unsubstantiated claim about corruption, either of a court or a judge, without offering evidence. Doesn't mean that there is no corruption in the judiciary, but there is also a duty for those who make these kind of claims to be able to provide evidence and actually, to the extent possible, follow the procedure to be able to get the determination or the proceedings that will lead to the determination.
In that case, then,
we are reminded yesterday.
In that case, then, can the Judicial Service Commission not, having noticed the public nature of a complaint, can the Judicial Service Commission not summon the complainant and tell them, come and tell us what you have, and maybe then start moving the wheels of motion towards addressing the complaints being raised in the public? For example, directly, could the Judicial Service Commission not invite Nasir Abdullahi and tell him, come, we notice that you have issues against judges of the court. Tell us what particular issue you have against what specific judges.
You remember, a complaint for purposes of legal proceeding is a very specific thing. Any allegations made, for example, in media or social media, does not amount to a complaint. And in fact, if, for example, the Judicial Service Commission, because this is not necessarily just about Nasil's case, it's also about any, for example, criticism either by a lawyer or a member of public that is made against the court or judges. If the Judicial Service Commission, anytime it notices a criticism against a judge or an accusation against a judge in public media, where there is no evidence attached to that, was to launch it as a complaint, then it would not be able to move. It's different when, if, for example,
and as we conclude,
there is evidence that is provided that shows that Officer X or Judge X was involved in an impropriety. That's very different.
I've got to stop you there,
an accusation, a blanket accusation is not sufficient.
Stop you there. Thank you very much, Waiko. Waiko Onyoike, constitutional lawyer, has been giving us the breakdown of how he sees the matter playing out. 9 a.m., time for the news.
And the presidents of the member states of IGAD have encouraged the leaders of the two countries to agree to consult on the issue that has now raised concerns between them. The statement read by chairperson of IGAD, the president of Djibouti, Ismail Omar Gule, has also encouraged the conflicting Sudanese leaders to hold talks to end the ongoing fighting. IGAD emphasizing the need for unity and harmony between member states.
As our region grapples with challenging times, be it the devastating conflict in our sister nation, Sudan, or the recent developments in relations with Somalia and Ethiopia, these challenges necessitate bold leadership. This demand arose in response to the recent signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between the Democratic and Federal Republic of Ethiopia and Somaliland.
The Law Society of Kenya has opposed the Supreme Court for banning Senior Counsel Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi from conducting any legal activities in court. Through the X network, the president of LSK, Eric Theuri, said that the decision of the Supreme Court is against the law and denies lawyer Abdullahi and his clients their rights under the law. Theuri said constitutionally every Kenyan has the right to be represented in court, and the court does not have any authority to choose lawyers who present cases in court. Therefore, he says the action of the Supreme Court violates the freedom to be heard in the court. He said that LSK will submit a request to the Supreme Court asking for an apology following the decision. In its statement yesterday, the court made it clear that the ban also includes the employees of his law firm as well as its client. In both, it says is dishonoring it for several years following frequent attacks on social media and even in the media. And the Court of Appeal will today determine whether it will suspend an order that stopped the implementation of the Social Health Insurance Act of 2023. Court of Appeal judges Patrick Yage, Pauline Nyamoya and Ngenya Macharia could issue a temporary relief to alleviate the burden being experienced by patients countrywide owing to the effect the order has had. During last week's hearing, the government, through Senior Counsel Fred Ngatia, persuaded the court to lift the blanket order as it has heart patients seeking treatment. And the brother of Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza, Murangiri Kenneth Gwantai, also known as Tali, is among two individuals facing murder charges in connection to the killing of blogger Daniel Muthiani Bernard alias Sniper. Gwantai is not only the governor's brother but also serves as a police officer and as Mwangaza's bodyguard. Also to face charges is Vincent Mureithi Kirimi alias Supu. This is after the Director of Public Prosecution Mulele Ingonga received a police investigation file and gave the directions on January 18th. The prosecution also filed miscellaneous application number E011 of 2024 and E025 of 2024 against 5 other suspects pending before Kibera Law Courts. Sniper disappeared on December 2nd, 2023 before his body was recovered dumped in a thicket on the banks of River Mutonga in Tharaka-Nithi County on December 16th. The chief government pathologist Johansen Oduor, who conducted the post-mortem on December 22nd, said the deceased was tortured before being strangled. And Kenya Power has been asked to address power challenges in Mwendapole Village, Magarini constituency, Kilifi County, in order to improve commercial activities. According to the secretary of the progressive organization in the area, Patrick Chirongo, lack of electricity has contributed to the collapse of many businesses in the area.
Tumekosa stima kutoka tarehe 27 mpaka sasa. Hivyo tumeng'ang'ana kuwasiliana na Kenya Power ili wakaweze kuturekebishia mahali kuna shida, lakini bado hatujafanikiwa. Tunaomba Kenya Power wakaweze kuja kuturekebishia ili tukaweze kufanya biashara zetu, tukaweze kuendeleza miradi yetu na tukaweze kupata mapato.
Jilani Mamuya, one of the residents in the area, has described the serious commercial impact due to lack of electricity.
Biashara yangu sahi imesimama kutokea tarehe 27. Hiyo biashara ilikuwa ndio tegemeo langu. Nimejaribu kutafuta msaada ndio at least biashara yangu iwe itarudi sawa, lakini kutoka nikose moto mpaka sahi biashara yangu imesimama na nimetegemea hiyo at least niwe nitajipanga na watoto wa shule ambao sahi shule zimefunguliwa, wanatakana kwenda shule. Sina fedha. Watu wa Kenya Power waweze kuja kutuangalia shida ambao imetupata mpaka sahi hatuna moto.
I'm Dennis Asato. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, Friday morning has not been too bad. Let's look at what's still coming off the Thika Superhighway. As a point of reference, it's still bumper to bumper that's coming in over Survey as you head into the CBD, but it'll move. It'll get you into the city at some point, don't worry, but not moving as slowly as it was before, so that's a good thing. Ring Road Western, still some traffic, and as you're coming off of Langata Road, heading out towards Uhuru Highway, there'll be a few stops here and there, but you should be okay. There's also bumper-to-bumper traffic still on Landis Road, heading out towards Haile Selassie on Mombasa Road through into the CBD. I think we should be all right for today. Some, again, spots where it'll slow down some, but you'll get there. Let's talk just in case you run into something that you need to warn other folks about. We'll talk on SpiceFM, KE on X.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, newshound, a man who believes...
of The Situation Room this Friday, 19th day of January 2024. City,
yes.
The lady is trying to catch your attention.
Hi.
My attention has been gotten.
Your attention has been gotten?
Yes.
And you still don't get what she's saying?
She's pointing
to something. We are getting into a Health Friday conversation this morning, and we want to talk about the discipline of pharmacy. And we are joined by a doctor of pharmacy, Dr. Lucas Nyabero. He is right now the founder of Elara Healthcare Innovations, immediate former CEO of the Pharmaceutical Society of Kenya. Dr. good morning.
Good morning to you, and thank you so much for having me here.
Welcome to the hot seat of the situation room.
Thank you very much.
Karim Sana. One thing that we want to welcome you with is, first of all, telling you next time you want to use a cab, use Maramoja Taxi. Have you heard of Maramoja Taxi?
No, actually.
So
that's
Maramoja
new.
Taxi is a local Kenyan taxi company. Okay? You download it from whatever App Store, Play Store you have. You'll find Maramoja Taxi. You'll find Maramoja Transport. And if you find many icons, choose the blue one. Download that one. You'll register and you'll start using it. These taxis are available in Nairobi, in Mombasa, Naivasha, Nakuru, Kisumu, Eldoret, all the cities of Kenya. Okay? It's all available. So when you use Maramoja Taxi, how good is it? Number one, City has used it, uses it all the time. The drivers are very happy with it because they say, unlike other apps, this one pays them the best. Okay? Number two, users are also very happy with it, and you will find out when you start using. Because when you want, for example, want to leave the Standard Group and you want to go to Elara Healthcare Innovations from here, and you stand out there and you want to hail a taxi, it will bring you the taxis that are available around here. But it will not just tell you that, oh, we have identified a driver for you, the driver is coming. No. They'll give the choice to you.
Okay.
They'll show you the available drivers. You'll see a photo of each of those drivers and the vehicles they're driving. And then you choose the one that you want.
Interesting.
So when you select that, then you start engaging, the driver comes. When the driver is on his way, you'll receive a code on your phone. When the driver arrives, as you start your journey, you have to give him that code. So the journey begins. Okay? So this whole thing of you entered the wrong cab doesn't arise because you've got to give your code to the right driver. Wrong cab then, eliminated. Safety number one. Safety number two, when you complete the journey, for him to receive the money, you will also receive a code. You have to give him the code.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
Safety being sorted out here, one after the other. Then number three, the money part. It's cheaper than all the others. Number two, it has a wallet. If you load money into the wallet now that you'll be using to pay, as soon as you load money into the wallet, you get 50% of the value that you've loaded. Put 1,000, get 500. You have 1,500 instantly to use. Safety number three, now because you've had it from Spice,
yes,
if you use the code SPICE30 on your next ride, you get a 30% discount on your ride. So you've loaded 1,000, you have 1,500, then you use SPICE30, you get a 30% discount, and your journey was 200 bob. I see. You're basically just riding for free.
That's very cool.
Right?
That's really cool.
It's like that. 1, 2, 3, very good. Maramoja Taxi.
And you can take that on your way to the supermarket where you want to buy a tin of kiwi. Why are you buying a tin of kiwi? Because there are things that can be gotten because you're going to shine your shoes, right? So you're going to buy a tin of the new kiwi logo, and then you'll dial *459 *5 hash. Under the lid is a code which you'll input that into after you pop the lid. Okay? You do that, instant airtime or data. Up to you. Well, okay, up to them. You'll take what they give, right? Then you get to enter into a draw, and 4 people every week are getting 35,000 shillings. It goes directly towards school fees. Even if you are not in school or you don't have anyone going to school in your home, you can do this for someone else. And that's the beauty of it. Buy Kiwi, the new logo, input the code, enter, get data or airtime, win 35,000 shillings towards school fees, and everything is hunky-dory, no?
Indeed, that's really cool.
Very good. We'll be discussing a bill that is proposing some new legislation for regulation of your industry. It's called the Kenya Drug Authority Bill.
Correct.
But before that, the day's proverb. City has been giving us proverbs from Nigeria this week, and he has been teaching us pidgin.
You're teaching us something.
That I think is more accurate. It is something. Akin to pigeon, it may not necessarily be a very fair representation of pigeon, but at least the attempt is there.
It's Pigeon City.
Right. Here goes. No matter how tall okra they grow, no go tall pass owner. Hey, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, listen to the proper pigeon. Then you'll do the translation to English.
No matter how tall okra they grow, it no go grow passing owner.
Okay. And the English version?
That's what we want to hear from you. What do you think the English version would be? Okay, then no matter is English.
Yeah, so what I was wondering is, I think what I heard was that the okra cannot grow higher than the owner, the person who planted the okra. Which is interesting, because what we're trying to suggest is your ceiling is your owner, so which is interesting in itself. Yeah, I don't know whether that was
your ceiling is your owner. So what do you think they're saying, the Nigerians, with this? What's the message here?
I don't know whether it's a message. So culturally, we tend to want our youngs to, when we have kids, we want them to get to not get bigger in terms of things like respect and other things past your parents. You have to know that the point is the parents. And I don't know whether that's what they're suggesting, because I think it's cultural. So is it the question of, even if you go to PhD, your mom is still your mom, and your mom is still the point of.
Actually, forget PhD, you even get 3 of them.
Yes.
In fact, even become president, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Be whatever you may be, you will always have to,
even become pope. It doesn't matter.
There you go. I mean, my mom, I'm sure. I mean, she's listening, I think, and yeah, she knows. She still wields the power.
Even if you're chairman of 10 society,
it doesn't matter. It don't matter. It don't matter. There's a bill. Is it before Parliament yet, or is it still a draft stage? But it's been published.
It's been published. It's being discussed. But prior to that, I think it's important to set the stage.
Yes.
And setting the stage here is. A lot of times it's not very clear what a pharmacist does. And the assumption sometimes is the pharmacist is a dispenser, counts the pills by 5 and gives you the pills. I think that's one of the functions that a pharmacist does. But there are many other functions a pharmacist does. Pharmacists are involved they're pretty much the safety plug. A lot of times, all of us, when you have a headache, you'll go to the pharmacy. So that's an entry point to the healthcare system, not just in Kenya. Everywhere you go, they'll go to the pharmacy. Some of the things we've seen over the counter, are things you don't want to remember. So they will guide you based on the knowledge, exposure that they have to where you need to enter into the healthcare system. When you go through the healthcare system, and at the end of it, the last person you see before you start care is a pharmacist. Even if it's in the hospital. And that is why in some other jurisdictions, the final say before a patient gets a medication is the pharmacist, because he's a drug expert. So you'll find in other jurisdictions, they have gotten to a point where even the physicians will rely heavily on the knowledge that the pharmacist has. Because not only does they know about the drugs, they understand the receptors, what the receptors do, what the interactions are. If you don't have this drug, which other drug can you use? Interchangeable, which drugs are interacting themselves, which drugs are interacting with food, which drugs are interacting with your condition. So there's a lot of knowledge that the pharmacist has. And a lot of times we have reduced that to, give me my pills over the counter and I want to go.
Yeah.
My professor used to say, dose is the poison, which means any drug you take can be a poison. If you don't use it correctly, first of all, you will not get the relief you're looking for. Secondly, it could harm you, and sometimes that harm is long-term. Perfect example, if you drink a lot of alcohol and use a lot of paracetamol, both of them go through the liver. And what you're just doing, you're taxing your liver. In the United States, acetaminophen, which is paracetamol, and alcohol interchange year after year as the leading cause of liver failure.
Wow.
So the use of paracetamol is equivalent to the use of alcohol in terms of causing liver failure. That's a simple thing that people don't even understand. When you have a headache, you've been drinking all night, you have a hangover, you pop paracetamol. Well, should you? No, you shouldn't. A pharmacist who has the knowledge will tell you, do not do that. Use something else if you need to use something.
Can I come in here?
Sure, please.
We talk about, the role of a pharmacist being reduced to give me my pills. But unfortunately, that is what has been presented to the general population.
Correct.
If it had been presented in a manner that if you go into a medical facility, for example, you go to triage where they do the preliminaries, and then you go see the doctor. If you must then go to the lab or whatever after that, and then you come back to the doctor, they tell you this is what we found or not found in your labs, and this is the medication then I would prescribe. You go to the pharmacy to sit in sometimes a god-awful line, and they come and say, oh yes, here you are, take this twice a day. That is it.
Before or after meals?
Before or after meals with lots of water.
Yes.
That's it. There's no offer of any kind of other information. The poor lad or lady is trying to get through that line.
Correct.
There's no offering of other information. You only know more about what you know about a pharmacy if you've had another kind of intimate interaction with them. But apart from that, it is exactly that has been presented to us.
Correct.
Medicine, counter, take it, go. If I feel bad, and on the medicine itself, which the pharmacist has given to you, they say, if you still feel whatever, they don't say come back and see the pharmacist. They say see who?
See your
The
doctor.
doctor.
Yes. So, and I wonder how that came to be. Because when you come and talk to a pharmacist, like, for example, if you come to me, I'll tell you what my practice is. When I used to be on the counter, I would start by asking you, what did you discuss with your doctor? What was your condition originally? What did you discuss with your doctor? By just those two questions, I can gauge what is your educational level. Are you a healthcare professional? Did you understand what you went to the doctor to? And did the doctor get what you were saying? So if you tell me you had a headache issue related, and then the medications I'm seeing here are stomach related, I'm like, okay, there's something here, something that's not right. So then the next step we go to is, what did he tell you about these medications? And what do you expect from the medications? Now, this you're gauging to understand the interaction. What was the interaction with the physician? Was it holistic? Did the patient understand, I came with this and I left with this? If not, it is my duty to first of all understand what the condition was. Is the medication appropriate? Is the dose appropriate? Is it gender appropriate? Are they breastfeeding and they shouldn't have this medication? Those are questions I need to figure out. What type of foods do you eat? Are they going to interact? There are some medications that will be affected by just the eating of aspirin, eating of spinach. I mean, there's a drug, it's called warfarin. It's used for thinning blood. If you eat spinach, you've just countered it completely.
Right.
So there's a way to discuss these things. So you need to understand who the patient is before you offer it.
So you're asking how we ended up here. So how did we end up here?
Because I think it's commercialization of just the whole function of pharmacists. I mean, the first thing you asked me is, where do I have a pharmacy? The assumption is a pharmacist will always have a pharmacist. So what has been taken away is the commercial part is there, because a pharmacy is money making, is a shop, pretty much. You've taken out the function behind it, the making of the sausage. The thing that is most important is what has been not accentuated. And
by who? By pharmacists?
I think it's by everybody. I think it's a common thing. It's pharmacists. I think it is patients. I think it is a community in general. We as pharmacists have not done a good job to educate others what we do.
But then, have you done a good job in interacting with your fellow healthcare providers and professionals? Because I see this as a systemic problem. You see, when I'm coming from the doctor, I'm not coming from the doctor with a doctor's report. I'm coming from the doctor with a sheet that's been written. 3 things. And those are the 3 things that I'm expecting you'll be able to read and give me. Right? So those things of you interrogating me again.
Yes.
I spent time being interrogated by that guy.
Yes.
I will not take kindly to that. So the system, if the system understood what you're saying, then the system should have had a way of you interacting with the physician by the time before I get to you, or I come to you with a concrete and comprehensive message from the physician that helps you understand all those things that you're asking.
That's very true.
So why does the system not do that then?
I think it's one of those things that has just grown on itself. It's just one of those things that became itself. It just created a monster on the side. The thing about, you talked about the interrogation, and I agree with what you totally. You don't want to go through this again. The amount of wrong medications that I've actually been able to identify by just having a conversation with the patient is amazing. Literally, where I call back the doctor, I said, you didn't get what this guy was trying to say. And it depends, and that camaraderie is very important. I used to practice in a different jurisdiction where we used to do that. And one of the things I did before I came back home was I used to just get a note that says, here's a patient, this is the age, they have this condition, what is the best care we can give? Treatment. And I would do something called a pharmacogenetic test, which is a genetic testing to see what drug fits you well. Because there are some drugs that don't fit you. And then I would propose a dose, and 99% of the time, it was the dose that was done. Then I was also involved and also managed the safety of the patient, because I'm most accessible. So I would monitor both the dosing, whatever I give, and monitor, are they safe? Are they doing it correctly? What is the lifestyle around the medication?
That sounds more like a policy and practice issue.
It is.
Maybe even a legal issue, where it's a policy that then this is what the physician will pass on to the pharmacist or to the next people. Even if you're sending me to the lab, you're not just saying test damu. You're also telling the radiologist, I'm sending this guy to come and get an X-ray, a CT scan, an MRI because of the ABCD.
Correct.
So look out for.
Correct.
So is it a policy issue then? Is it that there's something that has not told our doctors and clinicians to do this?
And yes and no. I'll say this, where the jurisdiction where I used to work, both the pharmacist and the physicians went to school at the same time. They worked together. So even when we were doing rounds, they understood what your value was. They knew you'd save them, and they knew you'd work together back
each
and
other's
forth.
back.
Correct. So it's a team. And I'm gonna refocus on something a little different. The aviation industry has a near 0% error rate. What is the error rate for medications in, let's say, the US, which is what you can find online? It's between 5 and 10%.
Why?
Well,
Medications that
error
are
rate.
Yes. Okay? Diagnosis rate.
What does that mean?
Means you got the wrong medication for the wrong thing. Or you got the wrong medication, you have a different, so the diagnosis and the drug you got do not match, or your lifestyle and the drug you got doesn't match, or it's just the wrong medication, inappropriate care.
So it's wrong. Is it wrong prescription?
Could be wrong prescription.
Or wrong diagnosis?
So we're coming to diagnosis. This is just drugs.
Okay.
So if you look at the other things, and this is actually published information, if you look at diagnostic problems, we're talking about 5 to 15% error rate. And I would suggest that I think our numbers, we don't have real numbers here in Kenya. I think would probably be higher than that. But think about it. If you had a 1% error rate in flights, in aviation, what would happen? If 1 out of every, let's put it 0.1%, 1 out of every 1,000 flights goes down, what would happen? There would be an outcry.
Yeah.
Because it's a group of people who've been harmed at the same time.
Yeah.
We get harmed one by one, separately, individually, separate places, and we don't have that. There's no that visual of 1,000 people today in Nairobi just got the wrong meds and they got injured. Come again to the cost of care. When you're an alcoholic, and I didn't get that, and I give you paracetamol, and you damage your liver, the healthcare system has to pay for that liver damage. Or kidneys.
Yeah.
We have to pay for dialysis. That is the cost actually attributed to the paracetamol. Because it was not given correctly, so it has led to other costs. So then now the inequities and the inefficiencies of the system are being accentuated by not involving the pharmacist. Aviation industry was able to do what they do because people act at the top of their license. What have you learned? What part are you playing in this plane? And do the best you can. We don't do that in healthcare. We tend to cross.
Why?
Looking at cross purposes.
I think this is an old age problem. I think it goes back to even availability. There was a time we didn't have enough pharmacists in Kenya, for example. We had very few pharmacists in Kenya. So there was a lot of, and then stuck. So the
doctors are playing the entire role from end to end.
Correct.
I know they're having a problem seeding.
Correct.
Okay, let's take a break. 29 after 9. Dr. Lucas Nyabero is the founder of Elara Healthcare Innovations. But he's a pharmacist. He's the former CEO of the Pharmaceutical Society of Kenya. We are understanding this industry more and more and better over time. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If a lion shows you its teeth, it doesn't mean it likes you.
It doesn't mean it likes you. It wants tax. A liar calls as witness one who is either dead or far away. Say it in Kiswahili.
Ben low nin inte yenin der ayu markati kadikta. You know this character called liar. He has disturbed people. So when you tell him who are your witnesses, he will take you to a place where it is difficult to verify.
For someone like me who sweats a lot, I cannot survive there. Sweating is biblical. Good. And he must blame it on Adam, not me. Because Adam messed up and he was told, now you fellow you, by the sweat of your brow, thou shalt eat.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
All right, traffic coming to a bit of a shutdown on the Thika Superhighway just as you get towards that survey area, and then it's going to go very slowly as you approach Murang'a Road. But after that, you're fine, more or less coming to an end on Kiambu Road, and a little bit of traffic on Limuru Road this morning. Are you coming out of Westlands? It's now starting to flow properly, so we shouldn't have any holdups there. Friday morning traffic actually has not been too bad today. We're still just looking at a little bit of it coming off of Ring Road, Westlands, and also Rilo Dinga Way as you head towards Gong Road and that City Mortuary roundabout. Apart from that, I think we've done pretty well. Keeping an eye on things through the morning. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
For the next 29 minutes with Dr. Nyabero. City, I know you have several questions. Go. Question number one.
I do. You see, beyond a pharmacy, having a pharmacy, or as we call them, chemistry. Chemist. Yeah, I know. It's not chemistry. Why is it then that pharmacists don't have a practice similar to what doctors have? I'm going to explain what I mean. You see, when I come to a pharmacy, it's the experience I have when I go to a shop.
Correct.
It is very, very different from if I enter an office or a room and I'm having a discussion with somebody about my drugs. So I'm asking that simple question. Why is it?
A dispensing chemist.
Yes, because you see, before I get my medication, should there not be a place where, not on the counter, because we are 1,000 of us, should I not have a conversation and say the same thing you're saying, that this is why I'm here, because of this and this and this and this and this, so that my prescription is verified and I'm given the advice that I need, and I'm given the way forward. For instance, someone who is in the same profession as you sat in this very chair that you said, no, it was the chair, same place. The chair was different. And he said many things which are very similar to what you're saying. Now, some of us who live with non-communicable diseases, you often wonder how you can rid yourself of all the medication you're supposed to take for life. Okay? And I doubt very much if my doctor, my cardiologist is a wonderful man who does a wonderful job, and he is a very open-minded fellow. So some of the things I'm saying arise from the discussions I've had with him regarding your profession. So why is it that we don't hear the voice of pharmacists? Because at the end of the day, it is your practice that advises me to take what I take, and for as often as I take. Yes.
Let's start actually with how many pharmacists do we have in Kenya?
So it's about, the number is fluid because there are some who've left the country. So it's about 4,000 who have been trained, and a good number of them don't have jobs right now. And they are not offering the service. I think what you just said, City, is so true. The value of what a pharmacist brings to the healthcare system has not been highlighted correctly, has not been brought to the forefront. And I think part of the reason, that's why we're going to pivot to the KDA bill, which we support as pharmacists, because it's bringing standards back. We're trying to get standards. The KDA divides the product from the practice, in which case you don't have the products or the commodities, which say HPTs, pulling back the profession, or the profession pulling back the HPTs. They go separately and they grow according to their needs of the various things. And I think that is a key part. Anybody, and this is now almost a declaration, anybody who enters a healthcare system, including your dog, has to go through a pharmacy or use a pharmacy-related product to move from why they got into the care to when they get well. And the drug, whether it is just for testing, whether it's actually a drug that you're going to take home, whether it is an NCD, you have to use those drugs. And who's a drug expert? And I introduce myself as a drug dealer more often than not, because that's all we do. We deal, we study, we learn, we are exposed to drugs and how drugs work. Why then is it that value is not brought in? In the US, they say the economic impact of wrong medications, not wrong medications, between 20 and 40 billion a year. The economic impact. Dollars. If you do some quick math, Kenya will then be around $4 to $5 billion in terms of what? Economic impact of wrong medications. That is almost the same amount what we use in all healthcare. Does it mean if we manage our meds correctly in this country, we will have economic output enough to provide healthcare for free without increasing taxes? And that is what the enormity of using the drug correctly is. It's so important that even when you go to the pharmacist, you're tired, please ask the questions. Ask questions, enough questions, to understand that what you're carrying, what it's going to do, what are the side effects. If the side effects come, what do you do with those side effects? What shouldn't you eat? What time should you take it? How should you take it? Those are details. And a good pharmacist will do that very quickly and give you the information. The idea is you make sure it's 4th grade level, so that anybody, and that's why I used to ask the question to gauge the words you're using to tell me I should give you 4th grade, maybe I should give you 12th grade knowledge to how to deal with that.
So should you have a pharmacist after the doctor before you go to the dispensing place?
Yes, actually, one of the things we was talking about at PSK is having a family pharmacist, just like you have a family physician. A person who understands all the meds you're taking, how you're taking them. If you want something over the counter, does it interact with the current NCD medications? And that's the next thing, actually.
But we don't have family physicians.
I'm not even talking about the one you go to see on a Saturday morning. Correct. I'm talking about in the clinic, in the hospital. Should you not, when you leave the doctor who said these are the lab results, before you go to the counter where they dispense, because if a prescription has been written and I know what's in the thing, can dispense. Anybody can dispense.
Yes, that's true.
But from what you're saying now, shouldn't you then go see a pharmacist before you go to the dispensing counter?
So I would suggest, and not because I'm a pharmacist, that would save the healthcare system a lot. Because then you don't take things away that you should not be taking. The number of people who are on dialysis in this country, the number of people who are on who have liver failure in this country, yes, alcohol is an issue, but the medications are a part of that. The number of medications that are being given that are actually interacting with other medications you're taking, the harm, the deaths that have come because of those things, they are there. We don't keep very good records of that, and we're going to move that. We're going to move towards that. Part of the reason why KDA is a very good bill is that it raises those standards. It raises standards, makes sure that the competencies and the technical competencies of whoever is participating is right. And there's a lot of, the bill has a lot of reference to WHO standards, which you talk about personnel, talks about training, talks about who should do what. And it's very important. I personally think, and this is my personal opinion, that the KDA bill is a patriotic bill. And you'll ask why. Because if we put the pharma industry where it should be, it will create jobs. We'll be able to sell, because then the competencies of what we are selling out, the pharma, the foreign currency that will come in from us selling medications would increase. But we have to make sure we don't shoot ourselves in the foot. We have to make sure that we have the right technical people doing the right technical things. Just like what, when you come from a physician, you see a pharmacist who guides you, then whoever dispense can dispense. Could be another pharmacist dispensing, but now it's gone through the check that is necessary. I will bet you the amount, they say, oh, it's expensive to hire a pharmacist. The amount of what we'll save as a country, the pain and everything else, would be enormous.
Where do farm techs fit in all this?
So, it's political.
Those are two very huge sides.
There are two issues here. Remember, I alluded earlier on that the number of pharmacists we were educating, training was a little less than what the market needed.
Yes.
So then the whole history of why technicians were the clinical officers, technicians. That's a whole history, a geopolitical issue that why it started and where it started. As a result of not being we did not think through the whole thing, how it's going to end. We didn't think about the end in sight. And as a result now, we've come to a place where technologists actually do 3 years of school. Pharmacists do 6. So there's a gap there of 3 years. And that 3 years is what I was talking about, exposure. I talked about the knowledge base. And when you have a knowledge base and the exposure, then even calling an audible, changing something, you understand what you're changing, and that wealth of information translates into safety on the patient side.
But do they have the basic?
They do.
They do have the basic.
Correct.
And the basic here, would that basic go to the extent of sitting down with the patient? If we said that we go this route and say, from the doctor or clinician, you will go through somebody who understands pharmacy. Can that person be a farm tech?
So, I personally would say no. I personally would suggest, because just what I just said, the knowledge base, the exposure, the knowledge base, because 3 years extra of school.
Where would you place a farm tech in this chain?
I think they're dispensing. Dispensing is an excellent place, and then if you look at the if you look at the international standards, and you see, and that's why the KDA bill is alluding to the WHO standards a lot and international standards, is exactly what I'm saying. The international standards. I remember one of the jurisdictions I used to work at, the technician who was there could not even put medication in a bag.
Why?
Because my license was on the line, and I wanted to make sure that all the meds that go into that bag belong to that patient. And if they don't, and they go harm that patient or the wrong medications, it's me. So I only, if I trusted you enough, I could allow you to do it. But I would put all my medications in the bag myself. So
because it's you who has the license.
It's me. Yes, me who has the license.
Let me ask this question differently. You look at the different cadres of healthcare professionals. Okay, we're referring to the farm tech. I'm looking at clinicians, and I'm looking at nurses, different cadre, not lower, not higher, just a different cadre. I'm looking at clinical officers, different, and many others. Now, for these cadres to exist, there must be a good reason. There's a role they're supposed to play. So, what is the role of the farm tech?
So I don't know whether I can answer that really well, because there was when the whole farm tech of now farms technologists was when that role was initially developed. What was behind the thought process, I cannot allude to because I don't understand.
Can I assist you?
Yes.
Because if I look at how we categorize our healthcare system, it's in levels.
Yes.
So you will find a certain healthcare professional at a certain level.
Yeah.
And until you get to a point where at that health facility, you then get to a doctor. You'll get a nurse, you'll get a clinical officer. Then at a certain level, you get to a doctor. Okay? And with a doctor comes facilities. You have a lab. And then you have a certain category of lab as you keep moving up. So I am taking the view that it was with that same thinking that the position of the lab tech was...
Okay, I mean,
Yes.
I'm also seeing something maybe, and
Yes.
you could correct me. The entry-level requirement academically, right? So at a certain point in time, everybody who was getting the A's wanted to be doctor. And then they'll want to proceed on to become whatever, the cardiologists and everything else.
Yes.
And not many wanted to do pharmacy.
Yes.
And now we have a shortage of pharmacists. And those that are qualifying for this particular profession are not preferring to go into pharmacy. But we must have people who are doing this job. So you go into a lower entry level requirement, and now you take it to a diploma level, and you have the farm techs coming in and playing a certain role in this value chain.
Eric,
I
don't know what's happening now, but you've taken my mind back to when we joined university. Pharmacists and doctors had similar qualifications.
Yes.
It was not, you could be either.
Yes.
It wasn't that you did. It was.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
It was the A. For you to be a pharmacy, you've got to score
Yes,
A.
you had to.
But then, those that are scoring A's are not choosing
pharmacy.
Oh, no, actually, it's interesting that you say that.
Is that
right
not-
now we have a glut. We have
Now
more
more
pharmacists
and
than we
more.
can- we have
Now more and more
pharmacists.
choosing.
Yes, we have more pharmacists than we have spots for them.
Yeah.
That's one. Number two is the same issue that we have with clinical officers and physicians. Same conditions. When we started, pharmacy was being taught in one school, which is University of Nairobi, and they used to take about 20 to 30 people, right? That does not... That is not going to be enough for a country like ours.
Yeah.
And that is... And the thing is, so then as a result, it will now reduced to dispensing because that's what you can do quickly. Okay? And I stand to be corrected on that, but that's just logically. However, when we got to where we are right now, cost of care the way it is, unless we address the way we use our medications, we are not going to cut it. Because think about what we're having about the antibiotic resistance. We're having patients who are actually losing their lives because they're using the wrong medications. We are coming to cancer, that there's very toxic medications. When you're a patient receiving chemotherapy, this is another function for a pharmacist. When you go home, your family and loved ones have to handle you in a particular way. Your fecal matter, your urine, all those things, your saliva sometimes is actually toxic. But we don't know how to deal that. And that's a pharmacist's job. We should come in and say, here is what you can do here. And that is for safety for the public. So when we have a pharmacist really installed properly to work the top of their license, it's just like the aviation field. If you get them to understand drugs, and they understand the drugs, to be able to explain how drugs should be used, safest way possible, we change how healthcare works and we reduce the cost in healthcare.
So if understanding this whole, and I think it's an end-to-end thing, understanding all of this, then we also then want to ask then who bears the responsibility to ensuring that that particular peg is placed in this process? Who should? Because I don't think doctors necessarily want to moonlight as pharmacists. You know, they do their job in diagnosis.
Correct.
That's why they hand it over to somebody else. But I think here we're also saying that there's a certain level of, I don't know if it's understanding or it's just like, look, I've done my part until here. Let somebody else take over, right? But it needs to be an inclusive thing.
Correct.
That is what we are saying.
Correct.
So who's responsible? I don't see pharmacists coming in and, poking themselves and say, you must include me. So it seems almost as though it must be an invitation of necessity.
Yes, and there's a few places. I'm just going to, there are many, but I'm just going to name one. Moi Referral. There's Dr. Keegan there, who's been able to set up a very good system where there are some cases, actually there's even a pharmacist in Kembu, there are some cases the doctors will not round without that pharmacist being there. Without the pharmacist input, they will not move because the pharmacist will come and do, will do the drug part.
Because the doctor has insisted.
Because the doctor has actually understood the value.
Right. Okay.
So the thing is, they've gotten exposed to the value, and once they get to understand, wait a minute, you can do all this, then now they don't want to do work without you because you're making it much better for them. It's much easier. It's much safer for the patient, and the patients are getting better sooner because you're giving them options of how, because we have a supply chain issue. So we can also, the options of what can actually, if we don't have this drug, how do we use this? Just the other day I was actually rounding somewhere with some doctors, and they didn't have a pharmacist on board. And one of the things they said was, sometimes I write a drug and I don't even know whether the patient got it. I was like, And then they also went ahead and told me, sometimes I will actually dose a medication. I don't even know how to dose it, and I can't find a pharmacist because we don't have a pharmacist to dose it. So I dose it as best I can. I have a friend who lost her hearing because of there are some medications that if you don't monitor properly, you either lose your hearing or they call them aminoglycosides. You either lose your hearing or your kidneys. And the fact that it wasn't monitored, they lost their hearing.
Wow.
That's pretty extreme.
Oh,
wow.
Well,
but also, I'm not saying. I'm sorry. I'm not saying that it's extreme that don't bring it in. I'm saying that it is so extreme not to want to have this inclusivity that we speak of for then pharmacists.
Yes, and I think the issue is also the issue here now comes, which is a thing that we have to really think about as a country too. It's delayed gratification. Sometimes we talk about how much do we pay now. What you pay now is already paid. But what is the investment you've just done? If you pay a pharmacist 200,000 and they save somebody's life down the line, or they save the healthcare system, the way it's using its products, right? That is a community benefit that sometimes we don't look at. We look at how much are we paying somebody now? What is coming out of my pocket now? And not what am I investing in terms of the benefits that will come down the line. And I think this is a thing we have to really think seriously about. I have dealt with patients' records that I look at and I cringe. I cringe at how bad they are. And it's reality, it's there.
I look at regulation of our healthcare system. So you are regulated by the Pharmacy and Poisons Board presently, right? Which is now going to be the Kenya Drugs Authority if it passes through Parliament. That is separate from who is regulating the doctors and hospitals. Even to operate a hospital, it's the KMPDC that will allow the hospital to run. But within that hospital, if there's a pharmacy, it's a Pharmacy and Poisons Board that will allow the pharmacy to run in the hospital.
Correct.
And then you've got nurses who have the nursing council.
Correct.
And everybody's just being regulated by everybody else.
Correct.
And it appears like these bodies are ending up not talking together, despite even the establishment and the existence of the Kenya Health Professions Oversight Authority. What does it do, and how does it bring that conversation together? And then you as healthcare professionals have also come together in the various associations, Pharmacy Association, Doctors Association, Nurses. You also have the Healthcare Federation, where you all come together. It appears you have opportunities to say the same thing, but you don't. Why?
Interesting. I don't know whether I have the age or to answer that, because by the way, the issue of having different...
As CEO
Yes.
of the Pharmaceutical Society of Kenya, you represented your people.
Correct, yes.
In the Kenya Healthcare Federation.
Yes, I did.
All right?
Yes.
Why are you taking these concerns to the Kenya Healthcare Federation to say, all right, people, can we think of how we can reorganize this system so that we all are serving this patient end to end?
We had several conversations, and the conversations sometimes were as a result of quote-unquote encroachment, where somebody came and did something in another area's jurisdiction, blah, blah. But you see, international standards is the same way. I mean, if you go to other places, the UK, the US, the pharmacists are run by a pharmacy board somewhere, and then the nurses on their own, because of the speciality of what they're doing.
Okay.
But I think one of the things why it works better there and why they actually include, I know that in the US, it was liability. There's something called standard of care. So when a patient passes away in a hospital, they say, okay, what did they come in with? This and that. What is the standard of care? The standard of care includes consulting a pharmacist on medications that you gave. So that the liability folks will look and say, did you do that? No. Then you're automatically liable, whatever the case might be. If you follow the standard of care, then now we can discuss and see maybe mistakes happen. But the key thing was standard of care, which is something that maybe we need to really drill down and try and see how to build it here, such that anybody who goes in, especially now that we're going to start dealing with more NCDs.
Are we saying we don't have it?
I am not saying we don't have it. I'm not saying
okay, then what do we have?
I think
what's the closest equivalent that we have to what you have experienced in the US?
There is protocols. There are a few protocols that are there that we use. We have semi-standards of care. What I'm saying is we need to beef them up. They are there. They need to be beefed up enough to make sure they have teeth.
By who?
By the various bodies. I mean, the regulatory body like PPP, all these are bodies that are actually working on a lot of things. There's a lot that's being done.
Does
right
the Health
now
Act cover this?
Yes, it does.
And what about the enforcement of some of these regulations?
And that's where I was going to go and say the enforcement, the budgets, there's a lot more that goes into some of these things. And I think as a people, we need to now request that we need, not request, maybe ask that we need these things taken care of.
You know, Dr. Let's step back, okay?
Yes.
You know what I was saying?
Yes.
The A's end up in being a doctor, being a pharmacy, and all these things. The brain trust of this country is what is running the healthcare system. It is what is designing the policies of the healthcare system. It's what is advising on the laws of the healthcare system. The enforcers are healthcare professionals. So when we hear healthcare professionals saying there are gaps, there are problems here and there, I sit back and wonder, so who's going to solve this problem? I mean, who else is going to do it? And that's why I brought to you and said, you have sat at the CEO of the association representing pharmacists. You have represented them in very many other meetings. All right?
Yes.
Have you taken these concerns to your fellow healthcare professionals? And have you had a conversation? Are healthcare professionals having these conversations that will benefit all of us, you guys included?
Yes, they're having those conversations. And I think one of the things that I'm going to mention, Eric, is that the UHC, the requirement for UHC now, the need to us get there, I think it's an excellent opportunity for us to align all these things. Because when you align it, then you reduce the costs. You're able to actually you're able to monitor, because now you have a target, which is UHC. Currently, the way we are, we need to do a lot of changes for us to be able to make there. Because especially, and I'll say one change, drugs need to be run by pharmacists. They need to understand what patients are getting, why, when, how. That needs to be them running it, period. Because if you don't, you lose.
Do doctors agree?
Do doctors agree?
Do doctors agree?
They are, good number of them do agree. Good number of them agree.
Those that don't agree, what's their problem?
It's a territorial thing, I think.
What's their concern? It's a territorial.
I think it's a habit. When this is what we used to do.
It's culture.
Culture. What do we now? We are here. Why do we want to change? Now, remember some of them when it started doing medicine, they had maybe 100 meds. Now there are thousands coming in.
And remember, the industry that produces the very products that we talk about and which you're supposed to superintend, when they do their marketing, they go to doctors.
They go to doctors.
Yes, they go to doctors.
Yeah.
So now...
So is there some commercial element to this?
commerce runs...
There's commercial benefit that they would lose.
I don't know about losing, but I'm just saying there's some commercial what are they saying, nods that have to be.
Well, there must be, Dr. isn't it? Because pharma go to doctors in terms of marketing, hoping that they will prescribe their medication.
Correct.
They're not considering the pharmacology of all of it.
Correct.
They're saying prescribe our medicine so that we can buy. People can buy.
And that's the world over.
Yeah.
And actually, yes. And I think I want to bring something else here. There's something called precision medicine that has been coming out. The meds we have, in our industry, when you say what I'm saying was written in the New England Journal of Medicine, everyone says, Question is, New England Journal of Medicine does not have people like us. So the studies that are there are not for people like us. They don't eat ndoma in the morning, and they don't eat uji, and the food lifestyle is totally different, right? So the medications, the dosing that is suggested for them may not be appropriate for us. So that's where precision medicine is coming in, genetics. How do we make sure we get genetic information for our patients to understand what our patients are taking? This is going to be very important, especially with NCDs. What diabetes medication works best for Africans, and how do we make sure the dose is right?
You need to come back.
Yeah,
I'm happy to.
Yes,
this discussion has just begun.
Oh yes, and we are glad that you joined us today.
I'm happy to.
Dr. Lucas Nyabero is a pharmacist. He is a former CEO of the Pharmaceutical Society of Kenya. He has introduced himself as a drug dealer, the legal kind. Thank you for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room, today and the entirety of this week. We'll hope to see you again on Monday. Have a lovely weekend. It's coming up to 10 a.m. Waambie kwaheri. Waambie wanunue kiwi.
Nunueni kiwi.
Ndio mpate school fees.
Ndio.
Very good.